In Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the live J6 Recap Tuesday edition. Fancy Brian, this is a historic day. How you doing, big guy?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I was watching. Now we're scrambling to get the sound. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great time.
You know, Fancy Brian, today I made a mental note of the time. It was 1:09 Central Time, and that was the time in history I was that many days and years and months and hours and seconds old when I found out that my senator, the senior senator from the great state of Wisconsin, was a conspirator in a coup, was a traitor to the Constitution and the very oath he took. Ron Johnson, a many-time visitor to this very radio program. Ron used to be a friend of this program. Stopped coming around. Sometime a little before that election. And then the election happened. And then, Ron didn't come around and, we quit calling Ron. And Ron's been something of an apologist, just the tourist. It was just the tourist. And hell, they seemed real friendly. Well, maybe to you, Ron, because you were on the inside of the coup. And I've never made that accusation against Ron Johnson prior to today. Because I never had the evidence to support it prior to right frickin' now. So let's play it for the people. Vance Bryan, going to need your help. This was earlier testimony. This actually videotaped testimony. And this was what? They were text messages from a Ron Johnson staffer directly with a staffer for the vice president. And it's being basically read into the testimony, videotape style. Fancy Brian, I'm going to ask you to play cut number 1. When I found out Ron Johnson was a traitor to his oath.
The Trump campaign took steps to ensure that the physical copies of the fake electors' electoral votes from 2 states were delivered to Washington for January 6th. Text messages exchanged between Republican Party officials in Wisconsin show that on January 4th, the Trump campaign asked for someone to fly their fake electors' documents to Washington. A staffer for Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson texted a staffer for Vice President Pence just minutes before the beginning of the joint session. This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin. The vice president's aide unambiguously instructed them not to deliver the fake votes to the vice president, even though the fake elector slates were transmitted to Congress and the executive branch.
That's enough.
The vice president.
So the more important part, hopefully you caught the more important part there. Ron Johnson, my senator, wanted to hand deliver to the vice president fraudulent electors. He knew damn well the state of Wisconsin had voted for Joe Biden. How did he know it? He went out there and he said it. We play it on tape on this radio station each and every day. Thanks to our friends at the People for People Corporation. Ron Johnson got caught by a activist out there at a public event. And the public event, Ron, and the sound's not always great, but Ron is actually lays out the math, proves to this activist that that Donald Trump lost the state of Wisconsin. And how do we know that? Because, all these other congressional candidates and all these other state assembly and senatorial candidates got like 50,000 more votes than Donald Trump did from Republican voters in the state of Wisconsin. Yet Ron Johnson specifically wanted to be the one to deliver to the vice president. And at this point, the coup attempt was a coup on the vice president. It was a coup on democracy. And Ron wanted to deliver the documentation of the coup directly to Mike Pence. Kind of feels like a big deal kind of day to me. I know I'm getting a little too emotional about it. But I would have called Ron, I don't know if he's a friend. I never would have called Ron a friend, not coming to my house. But he'd come to my studios. He'd brought beer. We'd had, conversations off air. private conversations about real life stuff, kids and family and stuff. And, it would be like if you had a good business acquaintance and you'd spend some time with them outside the workplace and thought, well, maybe not my kind of guy, but, still a pretty good guy. But I can't say that about Ron Johnson. I didn't know he was willing to betray his country. That's where Ron's at. And he's on the ballot this fall. I hope people notice. By the way, I'm going to be specifically in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, but others will fill in for me. We're still going to do a live Devil show on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Crudy's going to be live in the 3rd CD, the western part of Wisconsin, La Crosse, my old stomping ground, where Dom and I were college roommates. And we're going to do a couple of live broadcasts. We got many, many fine guests, including, I would say, 4 or 5 fine candidates that should be the next U.S. Senator from the great state of Wisconsin. We are pinning down details with the Mandela Barnes campaign, the Tom Nelson campaign, the Sarah Godlewski campaign, the Alex Lasry campaign, and I'm sure Peter Pekarski's campaign will make that candidate available as well. So we'll bring you at least those 5. But Ron Johnson, man, Mandela Barnes today is already tweeting out, you should resign, sir. And I don't think he's that far from wrong. I mean, you should be lawyering up Ron right now. There is criminal implications here. Our good friend, former U.S. Attorney James Santelle, hosts in his own regard. If you haven't heard Jim yet, you should be tuning in for the Morning Cannolis on Saturday. James Santelle, his live show each Saturday morning, 9 to 11. But he's going to join the Devil's Advocates for the entire second hour today. The 4 o'clock hour with James Santelle. Leave the gun, take the cannolis, right? We'll take Jim Santelle whenever we can get him. So Jim's going to join us as well. And I would point out, down the dial, Righty-Whitey Talk Radio, they are literally counter-programming. We're playing the live J6, the hearings. Vicki McKenna, who plays out in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin, concurrently, much like we do, she is counter-programming today with Cleta Mitchell. Cleta Mitchell is the lawyer for Trump that effectively is on trial here, along with guys like Ron Johnson and the former president. I know it's not a trial, but you get my point. And she is counter-programming with the big lie and some anti-vaxxers. Don't get your kids vaccinated, whatever you do, later in the show. But Cleta Mitchell's coming to Wisconsin on the 24th. And guess who's speaking at the Cleta Mitchell, the big lie event? The guest of honor, guess who? Traitorous Ron Johnson, my senator. So, it all comes nicely together. Also, coming up very soon on this fine program, KTNF host, Matt McNeil. Matt's going to join us. We're going to look across the river at Minnesota. Maybe preview the football season. I'm still picking the Packers to win the North. And we're going to talk about the fact that Matt's going to be doing some radio around here. He's going to join the lineup. So I know you're listening on AM 950 right now, KTNF. But here's the sad news. You're not going to hear me at 3 o'clock anymore. And here's the good news. When I'm back on, it's going to be me and Dom all the time, each day, each weekday. For those of you that don't hear me with Dom, that's my true setting. That's my happy place. So you're going to enjoy this program much better. Matt McNeil is going to take over the 3 o'clock slot in both Madison and Milwaukee and up on KTNF. And then you're going to get the happiest of the happy hours, the 5 o'clock on KTNF. You're going to get yours truly and Dom, the Devil's Advocates, as you would want us. Less Crudy, more us. You're going to like us better. Trust me. And if you've done the math, if you tune in at 3 o'clock each and every day, you're going to continue doing so for Matt. But yours truly, Crudy, I'd like to tell you I'm about to get ready to spend more time with family. I'm going to contract the show 1 hour per day. I wish I could say that was, for family. It's not. My kids don't care. My kids aren't going to spend time with me. Fancy Brian, are they?
I'd like to tell you that his family and him are going to spend more time together. I'd
It's-
like to tell you that.
That's not what we're going to do. No, I need more time for work. And it's sad because this is the fun part of my day. And it's going to start a little bit later. I'm going to start at 4. We'll get through the 4th of July, the big extravaganza. And then Dom and I will be doing a 2-hour only, but the greatest 2 hours ever in radio history. I guarantee it. I'm not saving any stuff. Nothing but the greatest stuff for 2 hours. And then we're going home or to the bar, whatever comes first. And maybe spending more time with family. So there's some changes coming along in Fancy Brian. I'm only going to tease it a little bit, but there will be more changes still. And they'll be bigger and more exciting. And I'll be, overly enthusiastic about it. That's my nature. I'm like a puppy on the radio some days. But the breaking news in the great state of Wisconsin, I know people listening outside of Wisconsin, affects you too. Affects the balance of the U.S. Senate. Affects the future of democracy. But my senator, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, he is a traitorous traitor to his oath, to democracy, to this nation. Don't bother coming around here no more, sir. We're done asking. We were done asking a while back. But, I'd be looking to do a citizen's arrest. I'm going to have to ask Jim, what sort of criminality, what sort of culpability, what sort of time in club bed could Ron be talking about? And if I do the math, I bet I know the fake elector paperwork. I bet I know on whom's private jet it flew out to D.C. to be personally delivered by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Combat Mac McNeil, our good buddy from KTNF, 950 AM. I know you will. More Devils.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Can we call that treason? Why not?
So, dude, not the preferred nomenclature.
Sedition!
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
It's scary. Maybe I am coming a little bit more left, but...
Well, it's not left. It's good governance, Dave.
It's good to be exposed to different ideas, and I do appreciate that you do put that out there on the airways, because a lot of times where you just get a little soundbite of this or a little bit of that, and that's the end of it. You're to be commended for that.
Dave, I'm glad you finally come around to commending the greatest radio show ever, man.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We welcome back a friend and a fine guest. He is Matt McNeil. He's an AM 950 host from KTNF in Minneapolis. And Matt, soon to join the Devil Radio and the Shaw lineup right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Matt, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Nice to be back, my friend. Good to hear from you. Hey, I hear Ron Johnson's a jackass.
Well, beyond jackass, he might be a traitor, Matt. Oh, my goodness.
You know, how many swords are there going to have to be to keep Trump safe from this? My gosh, you're going through the Bowers testimony in Arizona, the Ron Johnson thing, the Georgia stuff. There is going to have to be 100 or so people who are going to have to take the fall so Trump can walk away from this. It's amazing how many people were involved with this. And there he is, your guy, Ron Johnson, going, I love paste, and, trying to overthrow the government at the same time.
Well, as a clarifying point, he might serve in the U.S. Senate from the state of Wisconsin, but he's from Minnesota, man. We're giving him back. He's yours, Matt.
Oh, no, trust me, we got enough of these clowns up here, and they're everywhere. How about the Michigan guys? Did you see that part of the story? They were trying to hide in the Capitol like it was, Home Alone 2, where they were hitting the toy store so that they could, because they had to legally vote in the Capitol to be actual legitimate electors. It's not just Wisconsin or Minnesota. It's everywhere. These guys, it's not a lot of them, but they're very local. They get a lot of coverage, and they're truly evil people, and it is pretty disturbing, that's for sure.
So, man, you looking forward to football season, man?
And one of the truth is, I'm right now. Baseball is my game, and
yeah.
Because
you a Twinkies fan then?
Well, I worked at WGEZ in Beloit, Wisconsin. That had the A-ball team for the Brewers. And I became a happy little clam when the Brewers went to the National League, because now I got a National League team I follow in the Brewers, and I follow the Twins in the American League. And I love them both. And I'm more focused on baseball right now, because I can talk baseball all day long. And the Brewers have been great, but just the injuries, they got to get better from the injuries. And the Twins, same thing. It's just, how many, they had, 4 of their 5 starters out of the lineup. So that's kind of where I'm focused. I know you guys over there are, football heavy, but you got a good baseball team there. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a run.
Well, I have no doubt, Matt. I leave most of the baseball to Fancy Brian. He knows I'm not as big a fan as I used to be.
I was going to say, enjoy Carlos Correa while you can, and enjoy Byron Buxton for the next couple seconds here.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Glass himself, as I like to refer to, Buxton. My gosh, he's the only person I know that can pick up a piece of paper and fracture his arm in 4 places. That's the trouble with Buxton. Correa, I don't know. Correa, everywhere he goes gets booed. And, he might as well, if the Twins are in first place and they can actually make a run through the American League Central and maybe into the playoffs, I don't know why he wouldn't stay here, because, unless I don't know where else they'd ship him to that he'd have a better window. Let's put it that way.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, devolving into Sports Talk Live just for a moment.
I know.
I got Matt McNeil and I got Fancy Brian Kelly, and we can take you on the phones as well. But the big announcement we're making before you sneak off for a little well-needed vacation is you're going to be the new 3 o'clock slot, not just at AM 950 in Minneapolis, but also down here on Devil Radio and the Shaw. Matt, we're excited to have you be a part of our little network.
I'm very happy. I'm very honored that you guys, realize that this is something that will work. I'm looking so forward to it. The best way to describe my show is a howler monkey exhibit without the dignity. And I think I'll bring pride and excitement to everywhere we go here. I have a tendency of, you know me, man. I have a tendency of not taking crud from people like Ron Johnson and Voss and all these guys, and I don't have any problem calling them clowns. I've made a lot of friends on the Republican side up here in Minnesota, and I'm looking forward to doing that throughout the rest of the upper Midwest for sure.
Well, Matt, I used to think I had a few friends on the Republican side. I just didn't know they were, traitors against democracy and the Constitution and a few other things. Matt, 3 o'clock, you will play out longer than the 3 o'clock hour in Minneapolis. So for the home folks listeners, clarify for them when you're going to play at AM 950.
Well, I'll be on AM 950 from 3 until 5 locally. The first hour, we're going to be talking about regional, national politics and stuff like that, as well as others. I talk about a lot of things that are not political. We're in one of my favorite times of the year is the summer festival season. So all these towns have little festivals. I love hearing about that and going out there and enjoying those. We'll probably talk a little bit about that. Other things, as we mentioned, baseball. I can talk about baseball all day long, and stuff like that. But as well, we'll be talking about that more. Kind of the Wisconsin, Minnesota, as well as national stuff. And then in the 4 o'clock hour, we go back and more focus on Minneapolis, St. Paul. We'll be focusing on the races here. I mean, we've got some doozies. We could possibly up here have the worst Secretary of State candidate in the history of politics. A woman named Kim Crockett's running for the Republican Party. She aired an anti-Semitic video, which got applauded at the Minnesota GOP convention. She just put out one video where she basically didn't seem to understand how you even vote in Minnesota. And then on top of that, she actually put out a press release where she put the wrong day for the primary. This is the woman that wants to run the elections in Minnesota. It is amazing. So I have no problem in my 4 o'clock hour cultivating the fine, fine aroma that comes and emanates from the Minnesota Republican Party and making sure I get a slash on that. But I'm looking forward as well to the 3 o'clock hour, going out and the Waukesha area, Madison. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I encourage people to give us a call when we start this. It's going to be on July 5th, right after the 4th of July, July 5th, brand new lineup. I'll be on there 3 o'clock hour throughout the network, and then through the 4 o'clock hour into the 5 o'clock here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And then you guys are going to be taking over in Minneapolis, St. Paul at 5, right?
Dom and Crute, the Devil's Advocates, the way it should be with both hosts. So, yeah, we're going to have just the happiest of the happy hours. Matt McNeil, can't wait to have you on board here at Devil Radio and the Shaw, and maybe big news sometime in the future, man. But welcome aboard, Matt.
My absolute pleasure, and thank you very much once again. I really am looking forward to July 5th.
Now go on vacation, my friend. Enjoy it.
Adios.
The rest of you, come back. More Devil's Advocates on the J6 Live Recap Show.
The mood of the crowd was positive and festive.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
UK 540 AM, New Berlin's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Smart Asset Realty offers everything necessary to help you successfully evaluate, acquire, and maintain any size property and maximize a property's potential value. Whether it's the first time you are purchasing a house or managing your next apartment complex, we are here to reach your real estate goals. Start investing now. We take the headaches, you keep the profit. Contact us at 262-232-8738 or visit us at smartassetrealty.com.
Se habla español.
Listen to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk radio station. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show is live every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. Join Native Roots Radio from 6 to 7 p.m. for updates about Native news, culture, and activism. The 7 o'clock hour is for local programming, including the Paul Revere Show on Mondays, Busted Pencils on Tuesdays, and the Up North Podcast on Wednesdays. Always streaming at WAUK Radio.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Arizona Republican House Speaker Rusty Bowers says the 2020 election was not rigged in his state. He was asked by the House committee investigating the Capitol riot about a meeting on fake electors and sending fake results to Washington.
I thought of the book, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. And I just thought, this is a tragic parody.
The committee is hearing about efforts by Donald Trump to pressure elections officials and threats that resulted. Georgia Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says they counted again and again. Joe Biden won.
3 counts, all remarkably close, which showed that President Trump did come up short.
Republican committee member Liz Cheney says while this was going on,
Donald Trump did not care about the threats of violence. He did not condemn them. He made no effort to stop them. He went forward with his fake allegations anyway.
Cheney says we cannot let America become a nation of conspiracy theories and thug violence. The Supreme Court limited the reach of a federal statute that requires stiff penalties for crimes involving a gun. The justices said the law can't be used to lengthen the sentences of criminals convicted of a specific attempted robbery offense. The justices also ruled the state of Maine can't exclude religious schools from a program that offers tuition aid for private education. The AP's Mark Sherman reports states don't have to do it.
Once they do create a program in which they're allowing parents some kind of choice in education, they can't exclude religious schools from those programs.
Texas's top cop says the Uvalde police response to a school shooting was an abject failure. The State Department is confirming the death of a U.S. citizen in Ukraine, Steven Zabelski from New York, believed to be only the second American to have been killed in the conflict there. This is AP News.
For the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM will be broadcasting the January 6th committee hearing live gavel to gavel starting at noon today. A statewide order prohibiting the movement of poultry to live events amid widespread bird flu outbreaks has been lifted, the State Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection said Monday. The ban has been in effect since May to prevent the spread of the highly pathogenic avian influenza. The strain of bird flu is deadly to captive and domesticated birds, but is not as dangerous to the wild birds that are spreading it throughout the state. Since March, 22 domestic flocks in 14 Wisconsin counties has been confirmed to have bird flu, and states continue to identify new infections at backyard and commercial farms. An officer shortage and increasing disrepair of the Waukesha County Huber facility has forced officials to move 45 incarcerated people from the facility to a county jail, also in preparation for the impending closing. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
Mad love, so take a look what you've done. Cause baby, now we got bad blood.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I want to thank our most recent guest, a fine, better one than this song, Matt McNeil from KTNF AM 950, soon to be a fine host right here on Devil Radio and the Shaw. He's going to play out at 3 o'clock. And you in Minneapolis, at least our AM 950 listeners, you're going to get the best damn live happier happy hour of the Devil's Advocates. Me and Dom at 5. We're better as a pair. Believe me. We're like salt and pepper. Come as a shaker. So anyways, we're going to, gin and tonic. You need us both. We're going to go to the phones. You can react today. A lot of reaction, a lot to react to. Like the fact that my U.S. Senator was exposed. Evidence today at the J6 hearing as a freaking traitor. Talking about you, Ron Johnson. Yeah, don't bother coming around here, man. Oh my God. Wow. I did not expect that. 1:09 Central Time was the very moment in history when I found out. I looked at the clock, Fancy Brad. I'm like, what time is it? We got to... 1:09 Central Time, 2:09 Eastern. The evidence was presented of the complicity of Ron Johnson in the greater fraud, in the greater coup attempt. And he knew, because he laid out the math later, he knew that Donald Trump didn't win the state of Wisconsin. He knew that Joe Biden was the winner. So basically, they were using fascistic means. Any means necessary. They were stealing the outcome of an election, and Ron Johnson was a willing co-conspirator. Hell, he wanted to hand off the fake electors himself to the vice president. I don't know how much more freaking guilty you could be, sir. I hope he's got an effing great criminal defense attorney. 844-967-2789. Fred from Cottage Grove. How you doing, Fred?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's warm out there, but I sent some text too, and I figured you guys would be on top of this thing with Ron Johnson, but I want to know how there's a connection with him and Voss. There's got to be something there with Voss, and keep spending our tax dollars on some crazy thing on there.
Well, it's all connected through the big lie, Fred. I mean, the connection is Gableman. The connection is Janelle Brandtjen and Tim Rantham and this whole movement. I mean, hell, it's right-wing talk radio. It's Cleta Mitchell. They're all incestuously connected at the big lie, Fred. And every single one of them willing to perpetrate a further fraud to advance the big lie. is guilty of a crime, is part of the conspiracy.
Exactly. But there's got to be some kind of emails or some kind of connection between Voss and Johnson. There's got to be something in there. And the other thing I would like to see about Gableman's, the IRS going after Gableman and checking his tax records. Because there's been nothing as far as where the expenses been gone or anything else.
Well, perhaps not the IRS. I mean, it'd be great if the state of Wisconsin audited that money. We've got a legislative audit bureau. Seems like we've already got the staff in place to do that job. You don't need the IRS. We got state bureaucrats that can do that job, Fred.
Yeah, I've been there and done that. They go after the little guys, not the big guys. But anyway, there's got to be. I want to get Voss out of here.
Well, if Voss is guilty of something other than Fred, and he's certainly guilty of being political, and he's certainly guilty of, putting tar and feather on people and not being a fair guy. But I'm not sure that Voss is caught up in a criminal conspiracy in the very same way that seemingly our U.S. Senator Ron Johnson has now been implicated in. And he's not a complete buffoon like, let's say, Michael Gableman, a corrupted former Supreme Court justice who is out there making an ass of himself in open court against Remington, whose own father is a professor of some renown, let's just say. And Remington's got his own resume. And certainly, we should probably make time here for Andrew Hitt, the former Republican Party chair. Well, hell, he was represented in the evidence as well. Vance Bryan, let's play it for the people. Here was where Andrew Hitt got his 15 seconds of fame, let's call it. He explains he's not sure how the electors were going to be used. He was one of them. He is a fraudulent fake Trump elector. He was the Republican Party chair when he signed off on this little affidavit claiming he was a true Trump elector, even though Trump lost this state. Here's how he tried to explain himself during the videotape testimony. Play cut 5.
I was told that these would only count if a court ruled in our favor. So that would have been using our electors. It would have been using our electors in ways that we weren't told about, and we wouldn't have supported.
Yes, you would have. Yes, you would have. Because the leader of the Republican Party, and it's not really the Republican Party chair. Does anybody remember Brad Courtney? Other than me, he was a Republican Party chair. That's a figurehead role. You know who leads the Republican Party in the state of Wisconsin? Ron Johnson, the guy that wanted to hand deliver to the vice president the traitorous and fraudulent Trump electoral certificates, guys like Andrew Hitt signed off on.
I so love this country
that I would break the Constitution to retain power in it for Trump. For a guy that he used to tell us, Ron Johnson used to, I can't defend him, boys. I don't like how he tweets. He's better than Hillary. That was his explanation when Trump got elected. I don't like him. I don't support him. Oh, he does now. He does now, all the way down a criminal conspiracy rabbit hole, all the way down a coup plot rabbit hole. Let's just get to some of the testimony from the J6 hearing, because I'm pissed. This is a big deal. Let's play cut 10. This is Rep. Benny Thompson. He is the commission chair, the January 6th Select Committee chair. Let's just start with the statement of the chair. Cut 10.
When they wouldn't embrace the big lie and substitute the will of the voters with Donald Trump's will to remain in power, Donald Trump worked to ensure they face the consequences.
Yeah, especially in Arizona, in Georgia. More from Benny Thompson. Cut 11, please.
Donald Trump worked to ensure they face the consequences. Threats to people's livelihood and lives, threats of violence that Donald Trump knew about and amplified.
And there was so much testimony, videotaped evidence produced to the Trump campaign in real time. If they looked at the videotape, they knew what they were saying was lies. They didn't care. They didn't care that they were lying to the Georgia officials. They didn't care. The suitcases and 18,000 ballots, that's all BS. And how do we know it? Because it's all contained on the videotape, moment by moment. More from Benny Thompson. Cut 12.
Claims that widespread voter fraud tainted the 2020 presidential election have always been a lie. Donald Trump knew they were a lie, and he kept amplifying them anyway.
But thankfully, state elections officials would not go along. Although they, the Republicans here in Wisconsin, more than willing, play for the people fancy Lucky 13.
Like Mike Pence, these public servants wouldn't go along with Donald Trump's scheme.
Let's jump ahead. Cut 15. Doesn't mean the big lie does not persist. They're playing it right now on whitey-righty talk radio, right down the dial.
The lie hasn't gone away. It's corrupting our democratic institutions. People who believe that lie are now seeking positions of public trust.
Yeah, like our friend Matt McNeil pointed out, the Secretary of State candidate, the Republican from Minnesota. Minnesota, nice, right? Adam Schiff, Rep. Adam Schiff. He was a impeachment manager. Now he is on the J6 committee. Here's what he had to say. Cut 16.
Nevertheless, and for the first time in history, the losing presidential candidate fought to hold on to power.
And he talked about the cancer, a cancer on the presidency. Cut 17.
You can convince Americans that they cannot trust their own elections, that any time they lose, it is somehow illegitimate. Then what is left but violence to determine who should govern?
Liz Cheney talking about, some of the guilty parties, especially the lawyers. Cut 18.
The same people who were attempting to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to reject electoral votes illegally were also simultaneously working to reverse the outcome of the 2020 election at the state level.
And, our friend Fred from Cottage Grove asked how Robin Vos is involved. Robin Vos took a meeting with Eastman a month ago, at which Eastman was advocating you can still decertify the 2020 election. So how is Robin Vos involved? Oh, he's involved. I just haven't seen his involvement laid out evidentiary in the same way I did the Ron Johnson today. Back to Adam Schiff. Trump pressuring state officials. Cut 19.
When state elections officials refused to stop the count, Donald Trump and his campaign tried to put pressure on them. When state executive officials refused to certify him the winner of states he lost, he applied more pressure.
Adam Schiff, cut 20, please.
Anyone who got in the way of Donald Trump's continued hold on power after he lost the election was the subject of a dangerous and escalating campaign of pressure.
More from Rep. Liz Cheney, cut 21, please, Fancy.
Each of these efforts to overturn the election is independently serious. Each deserves attention both by Congress and by our Department of Justice.
Yeah, I hope Merrick Garland, I hope he's going to have a Ron Johnson day as well. More from Liz Cheney, cut 22, please.
As the federal court has already indicated, these efforts were also part of a broader plan.
Yes.
And all of this was done in preparation for January 6th.
Yes, it was a big old plan, like it was a big old coup plot, and everybody was part of it. More from Liz Cheney, cut 23, please.
Mr. Trump was told by his own advisors that he had no basis for his stolen election claims, yet he continued to pressure state officials to change the election results.
Fancy Brian, let's play one more from Liz Cheney. Let's clean up this portion of the Cheney sound. Trump didn't care about threats. Well, hell, he was leveling some of the threats, wasn't he? Let's see what this means. Cut 24.
Donald Trump did not care about the threats of violence. He did not condemn them. He made no effort to stop them. He went forward with his fake allegations anyway.
Yes, he did. I mean, hell, if we believe the reporting and the prior testimony of the J6 committee hearing, Trump spoke very approvingly of the Hang Mike Pence sentiment, right? Here's something that I'm got to tell you. It was a little shocking to find out that Ron Johnson is a traitor to the Constitution. You know, I thought, maybe just turned squirrely, but no, it's worse than that. Far, far worse. And the other part, this is also surprising news today. And it shouldn't be surprising that I found it at the Raw story. But Donald Trump is on tape all day on January 6th. And there are interviews with many of the Trump family members. There were documentarians there on January 6th. Lordy, there's tapes of the whole day. All the guilt. It's all on video. In the J6 committee, they're subpoenaing it all. We'll take it all. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Soon, Dom and former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. But your phone calls, they could be next. 844-967-2789.
Far more than dismissing me.
This person, this traitor.
This isn't very nice, is it?
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Pa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
You recall the Capitol insurrection? A post-ABC News poll showed 54% said Trump should be criminally charged for inciting the riot. That's like a litany of criminal allegations against the former president. You can say it's all partisanship and a witch hunt, but there wasn't one credible accusation against Obama during his entire 8-year term. So how Republicans just ignore all the evidence? I mean, he was perpetrating a coup on multiple levels.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and buy our woke gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
Is dedication?
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike and you didn't? I just created an environment where they taught themselves and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the live post-J6 hearing edition. The biggest news, at least with local relevance here in the state of Wisconsin, although I think this is historic no matter what. Ron Johnson, the senator from the great state of Wisconsin, is up to his eyeballs. And effectively, there were text messages read today that says that Ron wanted to personally deliver to the vice president, to Mike Pence, the false, the fraudulent, the coup attempt elective votes for Donald Trump, despite the fact that he would have known specifically the outcome in the state of Wisconsin didn't in any way, shape, or form favor that outcome. Trump lost Wisconsin. Hell, Trump lost Michigan. Ron Johnson knows that. He laid out the math. He knew that. So this news tells us that Ron Johnson was part of the coup conspiracy. And that's a pretty big deal, according to me. 844-967-2789. I haven't looked recently. I wonder how Trump's reacting today. Can't be having a good day. Or Ron. Got to have a, Tums with lunch. A little bit more here. Talked about the videotapes. This has got to be bad news for Trump and the entire family. Who okayed this? Whose harebrained scheme? Well, there's a coup plot going on because, of course, they thought when Trump woke up the morning of January 6th, he thought the coup plot would be successful. And he's got the film crew there to what? For history, for posterity's sake. When I retake the rightful place as the once and always king. Let me read from the reporting here. The House Select Committee has subpoenaed footage from a filmmaker who recorded former President Donald Trump and his family immediately before and after the January 6th insurrection. They had filmmakers at the White House. Documentary filmmaker Alex Holder has been granted extensive access to the former president and his inner circle, including interviews with Trump both before and after the U.S. Capitol riot, whose existence had not been previously known, reported Politico's Playbook. Holder began filming on the campaign trail in September of 2020, and the subpoena sought raw footage from January 6th and raw footage of interviews with Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Jared Kushner. It's going to be a bad day for the whole Trump clan. That's everybody, except for Tiffany. And what's the boy? I haven't said the boy. Keep the boy's name out of my mouth. The committee also asked for any raw footage recording discussions of election fraud or election integrity surrounding the November 2020 election. So, Lordy, there's tapes. Fancy Brian, there's tapes. There's freaking interviews before and after the January 6th. I wonder if Trump will have a change of tone. Anyways, you can be a part. Want to get your reaction before we speak to the former U.S. attorney. I wonder if he is feeling as stunned as I am feeling on this day that U.S. Senator Ron Johnson is a traitor to his oath, his nation, and democracy. Just one man's opinion. But I do have evidence to support my opinion. 844-967-2789. Oh, here's a caller. Bruno. Welcome, Bruno. What do you got for us?
Hey, what's up? You guys are doing great stuff here. I want to say that, number one. Number two, Brooks Brothers riot. Is this the precursor? Like all this coordination, we just seem to be caught off guard by it. But 2000 seems like the groundwork was laid for a coup.
Well, James Bott, and there is some commonality between some of the players, as I understand it. James Bott, B-O-P-P, who is the attorney for Marjorie Taylor Greene and recently represented her when she, successfully stayed on the elected ballot in the state of Georgia. Well, Bop is also the attorney for Gableman, the guy that contradicted Gableman after his interim report said, well, I strongly believe we should look at decertifying the Joe Biden election. Well, his own attorney, Bop, contradicted him. But Bop was the attorney for Bush in Bush v. Gore in Florida. Bop effectively got the recount ended. That guy has had success on a number of levels. Bop is the common point here, Bruno.
Okay. And one more thing I'll say, who's Facebook's counsel, right?
No, I do not, sir.
The guy who led the entire Brooks Brothers riot, one of the foot soldiers.
And who's that?
I forget his name offhand, but the general counsel, the chief lobbyist for Facebook.
You know who I believe was part of that whole thing? Kavanaugh. Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, I believe, was part of the push as well. I mean, if you think of all the young political operatives back in, what was it, 2000, 20 years later, they've moved up the food chain and they all went and grabbed onto the biggest fascists. They're like minions, like the yellow guys in the movies.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you for listening, Bruno. 844-967. You get the analogy, right? Minion's like the most evil son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah. Whoever's the most powerful, and then that person gets beaten up by someone more powerful, and the minions are like, yay, you're the most powerful, and you're the best.
I miss going to the Minions sort of movies. I know there's a new Minions movie. I'm looking around like, is my nephew like Minions age? Because I want to go see that one. Dick from Madison, welcome. What do you got for us?
Well, there's a lot of things that happened today. I didn't see all of it, but I like how they opened about an hour before the testimony even started today. Wasn't that a nice little touch from Trump? Can you ask James Santelle about that? Wouldn't that be witness badgering in real time today? I don't know what the format is. He's not on Twitter, but going after the guy from Arizona.
Was he doing that in real time on his Truth Social platform? I hadn't seen the reporting of that.
Yes. About an hour before they started, he started in on the gentleman from Arizona. But the other thing, I wish that Adam Schiff would have asked us. I know he was getting them to spew out everything he wanted to hear. It might not have came off right, but in all due respect, when he was finishing up with all three of them, I would have said, after everything you testified to today, are you still telling me that you would vote for this man?
And what was the answer?
They didn't ask that question. I wish they would have. I mean, wouldn't you love to heard the stumbling and stammering there? How can any one of those three guys, seriously, the testimony they gave today was so damning that who on earth would still vote for somebody like that?
Well, that's
as much as saying the guy should be behind bars. And then on the other hand, well, if our party happens to nominate him again, I'll vote for him.
Well, Dick, to ask that would be a political question. We have the right to a secret ballot and all that kind of stuff, and you have the right to be a moron. I just don't understand why there's 75 million of you. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Dom and James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney.
Under pressure. Under pressure.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Decorating your home is personal. You want your place to be unique. That's why you should check out Art and Framing 123 in downtown Waukesha. Discover home decor items from Treasury Hunter Ramona and original artwork by D.E., also known as Friday Night Live artist Dan Ang. Art and Framing 123 has a custom framing service for your diplomas, posters, Packer certificates, images on canvas, photos, and more. Art and Framing 123, 311 West Main across from the hotel. Let them know you heard about them on the Shaw.
This is Norm from Martha Merrill Books in downtown Waukesha, 231 West Main Street. We've been in business now almost 28 years. We're the book detectives. We can find adult and children's books, even if they're out of print. If we can't find it, it's probably not available. At Martha Merrill's, we specialize in unique gifts. We sell puppets and stuffed animals, but we don't sell watches because we're timeless. We do gift wrapping. When you walk out of the store, you have a present ready. Martha Merrill Books, 231 West Main Street.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W226DR Waukesha, always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
AP News, I'm Ed Donahue. Arizona Republican House Speaker Rusty Bowers says the 2020 election was not rigged in his state. He was asked by the House committee investigating the Capitol riot about a meeting on fake electors and sending fake results to Washington.
I thought of the book, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. And I just thought, this is a tragic parody.
The committee is hearing about efforts by Donald Trump to pressure elections officials and threats that resulted. Georgia Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says they counted again and again Joe Biden won.
3 counts, all remarkably close, which showed that President Trump did come up short.
Republican committee member Liz Cheney says while this was going on,
Donald Trump did not care about the threats of violence. He did not condemn them. He made no effort to stop them. He went forward with his fake allegations anyway.
Cheney says we cannot let America become a nation of conspiracy theories and thug violence. The Supreme Court limited the reach of a federal statute that requires stiff penalties for crimes involving a gun. The justices said the law can't be used to lengthen the sentences of criminals convicted of a specific attempted robbery offense. The justices also ruled the state of Maine can't exclude religious schools from a program that offers tuition aid for private education. The AP's Mark Sherman reports states don't have to do it.
Once they do create a program in which they're allowing parents some kind of choice in education, they can't exclude religious schools from those programs.
Texas's top cop says the Uvalde police response to a school shooting was an abject failure. The State Department is confirming the death of a U.S. citizen in Ukraine, Steven Zabelski from New York, believed to be only the second American to have been killed in the conflict there. This is AP News. Charitable giving reaches a record high, but inflation looms.
A report from Giving USA says donations last year were $485 billion, an all-time high, and a 4% increase from the record $466 billion contributed in 2020. But donations were down 0.7% when adjusted for inflation. Giving to arts and culture groups jumped nearly 28%. While giving to education declined nearly 3%. But overall, giving grew or stayed flat in 8 of 9 major philanthropic sectors. I'm Mike Hempen.
In another sign that the world of entertainment is returning to pre-pandemic normal, Broadway theaters will no longer demand audiences wear masks starting next month. Producers have long complained that ticket sales may be depressed due to the mask ban. Audience members are still encouraged to wear masks. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
So as you WAUK 540 AM, Brookfield's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Smart Asset Realty offers everything necessary to help you successfully evaluate, acquire, and maintain any size property and maximize a property's potential value. Whether it's the first time you are purchasing a house or managing your next apartment complex, we are here to reach your real estate goals. Start investing now. We take the headaches, you keep the profit. Contact us at 262-232-8738 or visit us at smartassetrealty.com.
Se habla español. Local older adults are in need of support through caring community volunteers. Help someone get to their medical appointment or grocery store, or lend a helping hand by providing seasonal yard cleanup support in the spring and fall. Volunteer with ERA's Senior Network by calling 262-549-3348 or visit www.eras.org. That's 262-549-3348 or www.eras.org.
Come on down to Mary Jane's on Main in downtown Waukesha. We are all things hemp. Edibles, flowers, chocolates, Delta 8, 10, P, and O. We also have clothing, shoes, jewelry, toiletries, but most importantly, education. Come into the store. Let me educate you on all things hemp. Whether you smoke it or wear it, come and get it at Mary Jane's on Main. Or you can see us every Saturday at the farmer's market. I'm Mary, and let me show you how hemp can help you.
A progressive voice from Manitowoc to Janesville. WAUK 540 AM. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
For the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM will be broadcasting the January 6th committee hearing live gavel to gavel starting at noon today. About 40 teachers, students, and community members marched this past Saturday demanding better support for trans students in MPS in light of a counselor publicly insisting no transgender student would transition under her watch. The counselor is currently on administrative leave, pending an internal investigation whether there were grounds to revoke her education license on immoral conduct based on her remarks. The Milwaukee Brewers shut out the St. Louis Cardinals last night, winning the first of their 4 games 2-0. Sunshine is in the forecast today with an expected high of 94 degrees and a heat advisory in effect from noon to 7 p.m. There may be a stray shower or thunderstorm into the night with winds up to 15 miles per hour and a nightly low of 66 degrees. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
Live programming for WAUK Radio 540 AM and 101 FM is produced right in the Shaw in beautiful downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the J6 Live Recap Edition. And Dominic, the breaking headline of the day. My senator, your senator, is a traitorous traitor. I'm talking about Ron Johnson, and we have evidence to support that point of view. We also have a fine guest right away. He is former U.S. Man, I'm so excited. Former U.S. attorney and current friend, we hope, James Santelle. He is also a host of Morning Cannolis every Saturday, 9 to 11, right here on the network. James, Jimmy, welcome back, man.
Hey, Jim.
I'm glad to be with you this afternoon, where America is talking about the confusion between USB drives and ginger men. So we know we're in a good state.
Jim, I got to tell you, I'm a little stunned. I'm a little flummoxed even. I've always considered Ron Johnson to be, a little country club cordial. And then I thought he got a little squirrely. Stop coming round, stop having him on the show. But I never realized that he wanted to personally deliver the evidence of fraud, the means of the coup, and want to personally deliver it to the vice president. Jim, does this sound like a crime to you, sir?
We have talked about this before. There's a thing called aiding and abetting, Section 2 in the federal code, that does in fact make it a crime to assist, to somehow encourage, support the furtherance of a crime. We hear this afternoon, I think for the first time, that Ron Johnson volunteered to get these false elector ballots from the state of Wisconsin being flown from Wisconsin to the National Archives to get them to the vice president's chief of staff saying, no, we're not accepting those. But that is an attempt. And to the extent that we're looking overall at actions that would undermine the conduct of the government, that would tend to suggest there is fraud, he is a participant in it. I would be very concerned if I were him right now. I know he's already released an opinion, or a statement saying that he had very little, if anything, to do with this. But the reality is Wisconsin, through our senior senator, once again, in the middle of this conspiracy to undermine our electoral process.
Jim, as a former prosecutor, would you recommend that Ron Johnson get himself a good effing criminal defense attorney?
He should. And the fact that he has been featured today so prominently in this pivotal role, it's one thing, I suppose, to put together these false elector statements, these ballots, if you will, which is fraudulent to begin with. We should chat more about the extent to which that was a crime. But the fact that you are now using them, taking them, and trying to facilitate the actual fraud on the vice president, on the process, to affect the government in this way, that places him right in the middle of this. And even though he was not successful, we know also from our previous conversations that mere success in accomplishing your criminal end does not mean you have not engaged in criminal conduct.
Well, yeah, that's why attempted murder is a crime, just like murder is a crime. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney. Let's throw out what Johnson's.
Is there an attempted coup charge we could level against Johnson?
I think so. Ron Johnson's press secretary, Alexa Hemming, wrote in a tweet this afternoon, the senator had no involvement in the creation of an alternative slate of electors and had no foreknowledge that it was going to be delivered to our office. This was a staff-to-staff exchange. His new chief of staff contacted the vice president's office. But as the journalist writes at the Washington Post, Matthew Brown, he points out that Henning, Johnson's press secretary, did not contest the authenticity of the text messages, saying instead that Johnson was not involved in the creation of the fake elector certificates themselves. Henning's statement does not contest the committee's core claim, which is that Johnson lobbied the vice president to accept fake elector certificates in an effort to subvert the 2020 election. We're seeing some of this, Jim. I heard the former president talk about a speech he gave over the weekend saying, well, I thought the election was stolen. We see how this kind of like vague defense is being laid out by some of these coup insurrectionist bastards. Jim, do you think that's going to help their case at all?
There are two forums for all this, right? There's the forum of the public out there, and they're telling this amazing story, gets more granular, more specific day after day, from Tuesday, Thursday of last week, now today. So in that context, yes, this is selling, I think, exceptionally well. And by mean selling, I mean its impact is very, very strong. And secondarily, to the extent that this statement, this tweet from the senator's office, once again, an attempt to distance yourself, what does that mean? You know that it's wrong, right? You know that the thing that you are trying to distance yourself is wrong. I would also offer it, again, it may not be a criminal law principle, but, when you're in a supervisory position and your staff engages on your behalf and does something on your behalf, you're responsible for that, right? And so even if that's not a criminal basis for pursuing you, many, many things wrong, and Ron Johnson not getting out from under this publicly. And then again, depending upon what the committee's specific evidence about this is, I mean, the evidence in the presentation this afternoon was not a staffer did this. This was not without the senator's knowledge. This was Ron Johnson. And so again, if I were Ron Johnson right now, I would be very concerned. And yes, it would be a good thing to get counsel if he hasn't already retained someone.
James Santelle, Andrew Hitt, the former Republican Party chair of the state of Wisconsin, was also featured, I believe, through video testimony. I was listening on the radio, Jim. But what do you think about Hitt's statement? Fancy Brian, going to need your help here. Let's play it quickly for our guest and also the audience. I believe it's cut 5. Andrew Hitt from the hearing earlier today.
I was told that these would only count if a court ruled in our favor. So that would have been using our electors. It would have been using our electors in ways that we weren't told about, and we wouldn't have supported.
Jim, do you buy any part of that? That they were, just pawns and we're only going along if things went their way in the courts. Well, every legal avenue had been closed, including the state Supreme Court, on the very day, an hour before they cast these fraudulent votes. So do you believe Andrew Hitt?
The answer is absolutely not. And again, it's a very nice excuse after the fact. They may have been told that, but let's go back and think about who he is. And even this other elector who was also on the screen right before that, who spoke about himself as being a useful idiot. And yes, he was angry that he was being put out there. But let's think about this. Once again, it fundamentally reveals a lack of understanding about basic civics. We're not talking about some refined federal law that only lawyers can appreciate. We're talking, as you just said, about the fundamental ways in which we elect a president. And for Andrew Hitt to get out there and say, well, basically the lawyers told me this was okay. Let's think of another example. Suppose Dom comes to me and says to me, Jim, Mike owns this station. He wants you to sign all these contracts on his behalf for services and products. But don't worry. They're only effective if, in fact, all of Mike's real contracts fall apart. Am I going to look at that and say, sure, let me sign? Of course not.
You haven't signed the contracts yet, Jim?
I have, nor has Dom come to me and asked me to do that. But it underscores once again this fundamental supposed, which I do not buy, I don't think you buy either, a lack of basic understanding about civics. And secondarily, there's this fundamental concept in the law generally, and certainly in government operations, of common sense. If a lawyer, whoever it is, comes to you and says, I'm going to ask you to do something, and your instincts should tell you, Andrew Hitt, and frankly, all these other people too, they're not stupid. They're not unsophisticated. Well, if the lawyer says it, I guess it's okay. Nope, I'm sorry, I do not buy that. And again, Andrew Hitt's attempt to blame the lawyers and blame the people who told them that this was only conditional. Where is that in the document? Where is that in the history of this case, as you just indicated? The timing of this certainly does not support that very nice and very convenient after-the-fact theory that we today saw on the national screen.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are recapping some of the prior J6 testimony. We've got a fine guest. He is former U.S. attorney and our good friend, James Santelle. Jim, today's J6 hearing was about the pressure on state officials. And obviously, Republicans really didn't control the mechanism of counting the vote in the state of Wisconsin, but they did in Georgia. And we heard again, the former president, I just need you to find me 11,780 votes. Jim, if you heard that testimony as it was laid out by the J6 hearing today, it seemed damning in real time. I mean, we found out back in real time, damn near, but it seems very damning today as well.
Right, absolutely. Again, we knew a lot of those specific details, but to put it together in the context of today's theory was a theme, if you will, was basically to leave Washington, D.C. and see what part of this overall structure, this overall Eastman plan now involved places like Arizona and Georgia. So we got Brad Raffensperger, again, very, very compelling, very, very straightforward, saying in no uncertain terms, there was no there. The election in Georgia was proper. All these allegations about dead people and people are not registered, completely untrue. He tells the president that is the case. So once again, we've got that affirmation of knowledge inside Donald Trump and everyone who's listening to him. The COO, Mr. Sterling, likewise saying nothing about this process was fraudulent. We're letting the president know that, and no, we're not going to go along with his plan to find these additional votes. The repeat of the conversation and the excerpts from what was an overly extenuated conversation here between the president and Raffensperger. I think they said it was an hour and 10, 15 minutes or so. But these key features, you see plainly the president getting angry when Raffensperger will not, in fact, do what he wants him to do. Raffensperger is pushing back on this. And in the end, they don't hang up on each other, but there's a threat there. There's a threat of criminal exposure. Everything about this is classic Donald Trump. And it parallels, if you will, what they did last Thursday, which is talk about this meeting on January 4th.
James, hold that thought. James Santelle, our fine guest. More Devil's Advocates. We'll bring him right back. You come right back.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Was that wrong? Should I not have done that?
No! Hugs with family.
Grandma and Grandpa's here!
Get over here! Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed.
I miss you so much, Grandpa.
Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
Now, we've had Ted Cruz more than once. Once in
yes, he has very
Wisconsin,
slippery hands.
and once in Ishawaka, Indiana.
He was so desperate, he literally walked into this diner with families eating and shook every single person's hand, whether they wanted him to or not. And some of the kids were like, what?
Bobby! He was invading lots of bubbles. Bobby, make the greasy man go away. I can smell the desperation, Mommy.
Be able to go back to the movies.
Introduce my family to my new girlfriend.
For my husband, who's been a chronic asthmatic his whole life.
So I can visit friends in a different state.
So I can take my granddaughter out to the park again.
So that I can hug my 85-year-old grandma again.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Former U.S. Attorney, friend of the Devil's Advocates, James Santelle, sticking around. Jim, thank you for joining us once again. What a day of testimony, the J6 hearings today. One of the people that really struck me, which I was actually surprised by. I kind of come into these things with my own thoughts about who people are and how they are. But Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, I thought, had some extremely compelling testimony in that, I mean, not only from where he came from and explaining how this impacted him and how he, went to his space to try to figure out how to handle this. But the fact that, Rudy Giuliani and the Trump campaign, they knew that this was wrong, that this was illegal, that this was not going to work, yet they continued to do it every way. We have some sound of that, Crudy?
We do.
All right.
Can play a little of the Rusty Bowers, give the audience a flavor if they weren't able to listen in. Fancy Brian, if you'd be so kind, play the Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, cut 27, please.
Anywhere, anyone, anytime has said that I said the election was rigged, that would not be true.
One more, at least, cut 28, please.
You are asking me to do something against my oath, and I will not break my oath.
And one more, cut 29, Arizona Speaker Rusty Bowers.
He said, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence.
Lots of theories and no evidence. And that first cut, Jim, was Rusty Bowers describing the phone call and, his testimony as to the contents of that call compared to what Trump has said. Obviously, there's some conflict in what the reality was there. And if I'm going to have two people in front of me telling me stories, honestly, Jim, Bowers comes off as extremely credible. What's your take?
Absolutely. And again, if this were a court of law, you'd look at the two of them and you'd say, who is the more credible, even if it is, as many of the commentators are saying, this is he said, it is not just that. And note, too, how wise the committee was. This complete refutation of what Donald Trump has said almost started the entire 2.5-hour presentation today. Right off the bat, Rusty Bowers comes in and says, that conversation, I had a conversation, but that is not the content of the conversation. It was just the opposite. And so right from the start, we get this clear exposition that what Donald Trump is saying to you, America, is a lie. Donald Trump, even before the hearing today, tweeted about people being rhinos and the election was rigged and I won Arizona. And I have to wonder if even that decision to start out with this complete in-your-face rejection of what Donald Trump has said was very purposeful. The second portion of it, which again, very, very compelling, Rusty Bowers bringing his faith into this, talking about how, again, many people will agree and disagree with this, but the Constitution is divinely inspired. I have an oath. I've got an oath to something that's greater than me. And this man was forcing me to violate my oath. And I would say, arguably, even go beyond. He talked about his time beyond his time on earth here, and having to answer for what he is doing. I will tell you, for those people who are out there, whether you are religious or not, spiritual or not, that is very, very compelling testimony. And Donald Trump, don't you dare mess with my soul, is what he's saying. And so I would offer that, frankly, Rusty Bowers, at the start of this, invoking this spirituality, and yes, indeed, at the very end, Lady Ruby saying, God will make your name great, but not this way. We've got a spirituality to this today, and very, very thoughtful by the committee to bookend that attractive approach on this.
Jim, also testimony from Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. I'll quote here from the
Didn't she
Washington
used
Post.
to be a Romney?
She doesn't say that much these days. said that Donald Trump, President Trump at the time, on a conference call, introduced Eastman to talk about having fake electors in place as a contingency. In her testimony, quote, essentially, he turned the call over to Mr. Eastman, who then proceeded to talk about the importance of the RNC helping the campaign gather these contingent electors, as they call them. I call them fraudulent, in case of any of the legal challenges that were ongoing, change the result of any of the states. Again, kind of the same defense or, discussion talking point that Ron Johnson's office put out today. Does that shield them in any way in your position, number one, Jim? And number two, does this testimony by the RNC chairwoman implicate Trump even further about knowing about this plot and being a part of it?
Right. And so as to that second point, absolutely, right? Once again, and it's also important that she is inside the RNC. So many of these witnesses today, these are not the liberal Democrats who are coming here to hurl political mess in Donald Trump's direction or John Eastman's direction or Rudy Giuliani's.
Hey, man, who's calling our fine guest during the show? Jim, put him on. Just send him straight to voicemail, man. Finish your thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other piece of this, of course, remember that Eastman is the same fellow who, again, a few weeks later, as we learned last week, in the Oval Office, acknowledges that this entire plan violated the Electoral Count Act. He says, I'm here to request that you reject the electors, and he acknowledges to the president, as he did not acknowledge to the RNC folks, that this is all fraud and that this argument would fail if it goes forward. He's not afraid to do that. All of this goes to intent. It goes to purpose. It goes to design. You're saying one thing simply for the purpose of encouraging people to engage in conduct that you know is illegal. That's obstruction. That puts you, again, right in the middle of this overall attempt to undermine the basic processes of government, electing a president.
Jim, you got one more segment for us, man? I got a few more questions for you.
Absolutely.
Including this one, Jim. I know it's off the January 6th topic, but the Wisconsin Christmas parade suspect, Darrell Brooks, has changed his plea. He is now pleading not guilty by mental disease or defect. That, of course, the Waukesha parade tragedy, and Brooks is the alleged. But I'd like to get your opinion on that defense. Will it be effective? Can it be effective? Jim, and I suspect my little buddy's got more to ask you about the J6 as well, and perhaps even our traitorous U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. I hope Ron's got an effing great criminal defense attorney. More of our fine guest, James Santelle, more Devil's Advocates. Come right back with us.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Was that wrong? Should I not have done that?
The Shaw 101 FM, your fix for progressive talk. From Butler to Wind Lake. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
I'm Peter Pekarsky, a U.S. Senate candidate approving this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin, asking what kind of world do you want to leave to your children and grandchildren? A world where Ron Johnson uses his Senate vote to change the tax code so another $79 million stays with three of his rich campaign contributors instead of paying for Wisconsin schools and roads? Or a world where Peter Pekarsky is a U.S. Senator working for all the people of Wisconsin? Tell us what you want at PekarskyForWisconsin.com.
Listen to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk radio station, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Start your mornings off with Matt Flynn Direct from 6 to 8 a.m. Then find out what's going on with the Earl Ingram Show every day from 8 to 11. The Tom Hartman Program is live middays from 11 to 2, right here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Arizona Republican House Speaker Rusty Bowers says the 2020 election was not rigged in his state. He was asked by the House committee investigating the Capitol riot about a meeting on fake electors and sending fake results to Washington.
I thought of the book, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. And I just thought, this is a tragic parody.
The committee is hearing about efforts by Donald Trump to pressure elections officials and threats that resulted. Georgia Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says they counted again and again. Joe Biden won.
3 counts, all remarkably close, which showed that President Trump did come up short.
Republican committee member Liz Cheney says while this was going on,
Donald Trump did not care about the threats of violence. He did not condemn them. He made no effort to stop them. He went forward with his fake allegations anyway.
Cheney says we cannot let America become a nation of conspiracy theories and thug violence. The Supreme Court limited the reach of a federal statute that requires stiff penalties for crimes involving a gun. The justices said the law can't be used to lengthen the sentences of criminals convicted of a specific attempted robbery offense. The justices also ruled the state of Maine can't exclude religious schools from a program that offers tuition aid for private education. The AP's Mark Sherman reports states don't have to do it.
Once they do create a program in which they're allowing parents some kind of choice in education, they can't exclude religious schools from those programs.
Texas's top cop says the Uvalde police response to a school shooting was an abject failure. The State Department is confirming the death of a U.S. citizen in Ukraine, Stephen Zabelski from New York, believed to be only the second American to have been killed in the conflict there. This is AP News.
For the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines. The Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM will be broadcasting the January 6th committee hearing live gavel to gavel starting at noon today. The trial against Darrell Brooks Jr. in connection with the Waukesha Christmas parade attack last year will be held in Waukesha County with a jury of county residents after a judge on Monday denied a change of venue motion. Instead of moving the trial, the jury would be expanded and both parties would have additional strikes and time for questioning jurors to ensure a fair trial. The jury will be sequestered at the courthouse during the day, but allowed to return home at night. The trial is scheduled for October 3rd through the 28th, but it may conclude before or after that date depending on how long the jury deliberates. The Milwaukee Brewers are teaming up with the Salvation Army to bag around 1,000 lunches a day to go to kids in 21 neighborhoods on the city's north and south sides. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
I can tell you that I plead the fifth.
Charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
Lock her up, lock her up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates, the live J6 postgame party. We got Biden, former U.S. attorney, as our guest. James Santelle is the man. Jim, I was 52 years, 1 week, 2 days, 13 hours and 9 minutes old when I found out my U.S. senator was a traitor to the Constitution, to democracy, to his oath of office. But, you know, there's more to talk about than treacherous, traitorous Ron Johnson. Jim, do you think the American people are being moved by this? I like these January 6 hearings far better than, let's say, the impeachment, because there's not Republicans breaking the flow and inserting malfeasant and false information in real time. You get to see the whole case played out, not in 5 minute, skip every 5 minute increments. Jim, do you think this is moving the needle?
I do. And for anybody who's watching even bits and pieces of it, you would have to come away, if you watch a 20-minute segment here or there, you have to come away with these special messages that are repeated over and over again, which is, again, no big lie. The president knew about this. The president was told about it repeatedly. And then all of these efforts with that knowledge to reach out, both internal to the White House, to the Department of Justice, folks in Washington, D.C., the vice president, and then also beyond Washington, into Arizona, into Wisconsin, into Georgia. This effort to do exactly what you know is wrong, but in an attempt to get the election in your favor. That's the message that comes through at bottom line from each one of these witnesses. And you don't have to sit there and watch it for 2.5 hours, as most of the rest of us did today, to get that message. you also have some very, as we talked before the break, you've got some very compelling witnesses here. They're government officials, they're normal people, they're poll workers who found themselves victimized by this president. In many ways, that too would be a part of a sentencing hearing, if you will, a victim impact statement. When Lady Ruby and Shade Moss are describing the impact of what the president did by identifying their supposedly illegal activities, and that's also hugely impactful. What does it show? It shows an intent. It shows an intent to hit other people, to affect other people, without any care for them and only to benefit him. I do think it's hitting, yes.
Jim, you brought up Lady Ruby and her daughter, and I think for me, that was some of the most compelling testimony that I heard. You know, these other folks, you know, you kind of signed up. You know, if you're Braffin's purger or his deputy, you know, this is what you do, and you're going to get some slack and whatever. But if you just you know, volunteering, you know, trying to do something good, as a 60-some-year-old grandmother coming in to volunteer her time during the pandemic. I didn't do that, Jim. I didn't want to go anywhere near polling stations or anywhere where there's lots of people in the middle of a pandemic.
No, you left that to me, but go ahead.
Yeah. But she went in, and I know, Fancy Brian, you pulled the sound. I just want to play it for the audience, Jim, and get your take. I thought, for many reasons, this was extremely compelling. Let me just a little backstory here today. Earlier, I was at a Women of Influence awards ceremony. Our pal Maggie Dawn won an award as a woman of influence here in Milwaukee from the local community here, and to hear some of the stories of the other winners and as women, what they go through in their professional lives and trying to, you know, to be the best they can be and how they went through it and got to where they are. It is entirely different for women in this world, certainly than it is for men, especially white men. And we have in this circumstance, 2 African-American women volunteering, or at least one volunteering, perhaps the daughter was being paid, but going out and doing this work for the community to engage in their civic duty, and then to be personally attacked by the white male president of the United States. It was just such outrageous behavior for me, Jim. If you would bear with me, Brian, if you would play that cut, I believe it's number 8.
There is nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere. Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you? The President of the United States is supposed to represent every American, not to target one. But he targeted me, Lady Ruby, a small business owner, a mother, a proud American citizen who stand up to help Fulton County run an election in the middle of the pandemic.
Jim, I applaud Lady Ruby and all the other volunteers and poll workers that you know do that kind of work, that are now, just because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, to be attacked by this president. And my concern ultimately, beyond for their immediate safety, is for our electoral system. I mean, if this is how people are going to be received and attacked by the losing party, who in the hell would want to go and engage and be a poll worker, Jim?
Right, exactly. And that we talked about this before, right? That's the deterrent impact upon this. I volunteer every election to do just this, and I'm not dissuaded from doing that by this, but an awful lot of people look at this and say, you know what? I could be Shade Moss. I could be Lady Ruby. I was just doing my duty as well. And if I happen to be on some videotape and someone gets a hold of it, and I am passing, as I said, probably a little bit tongue-in-cheek at the start of our time together, I'm passing a ginger mint, and in fact, somebody looks at that and says, no, you're passing a USB drive and you're engaging in election fraud, and misconstrues all the things that are in this visual presentation of what I was doing legitimately on behalf of my community. I'm going to think twice. I'm going to think 3 times about going down that road. Why do I need that kind of not only response, but now, as we learn, harassment, threats of physical harm, being obliged through the direction of the FBI to stay away from your home. Why? Because you're engaging in public service. This goes far beyond simple advocacy about who won or who lost an election and the legitimate processes by which we get there. This is going to the very focus of how we elect people, It depends fundamentally upon human beings coming forward, yes, volunteering, maybe getting paid from time to time, not inappropriately for doing their service, but doing what we necessarily have to get done. It sends a very chilling message. Again, the shame of this that should be on the president and other people is profound. I suspect it will not hit as it would any other normal human being.
Jim Santelle, our fine guest, I was checking out our competition, turned her down to whitey-righty talk radio. And as fate would have it, the same host plays in both Milwaukee and Madison, as both Dom and I do. And I was listening to her guest, Cleta Mitchell. Cleta Mitchell was the guest, the counter-programming to the J6. And they were selling spots, or at least encouraging people to come out to the big event being led by Cleta Mitchell on the 24th. And apparently Ron Johnson is the speaker of honor on Friday, the newly exposed traitorous senator from the state of Wisconsin. But they're going to train people, they said. They're going to train people how to run elections and how to monitor elections. And this is their newest, effort, because we can't let happen what happened the last time. But here's my question. When you've got a broadcast outlet and they continue to propagate the big lie, and this isn't a cable news outlet, Jim, this is, FCC regulated broadcast media. When they're out there literally lying to the American public, lying and promoting the big lie, and they were going to follow that up with some anti-vaxxer conversation later in the show. But Jim, am I misplaced in feeling aggrieved as a broadcaster when my competitors are airing that kind of, let's call it BS?
Not at all. And again, I believe your license, their license, subject to review by the FCC, right? And comments by the community, and this kind of thing should be a part of that, not only immediately, but whenever licenses come up to do that. That's the process for doing this. And beyond just that sense of being aggrieved that you legitimately feel, Mike, the other part of this, of course, is that, what is the authority to do this? When you are engaging, when you are a poll worker, there are folks there are city clerks, there are county clerks who are doing this work. And it is a governmental function. It is nonpartisan. It's non-political. And they are the ones who are responsible for recruiting the poll workers, for doing the training, for doing the processing of how elections work in America. That is the rule across the nation. So I wonder out loud. Now you can do training of election observers. That's a different sort of thing. But are we talking now about getting people in positions of true responsibility, like me and others, when we quite literally have people coming in and voting, so that you can do something inside the system to affect the ultimate result? I certainly hope not. If you are in fact doing that, you're engaging the same kind of anti-government, and I would argue arguably criminal behavior that undermines our elections. So it is dangerous. It is dangerous. And it's one thing to promote voting. It's one thing to encourage people to volunteer at their polling places and doing apolitical, nonpartisan things. It's another thing to be motivated because you think that there was a steal of the election, which is not true, as you said, and all of this premised upon a fundamentally, as we heard again today, a fundamentally, completely unsupported view about recent American history. It's dangerous, it's scary, and it should be condemned.
Well, it's only Cleta Mitchell's 8th such seminar here in the state of Wisconsin, Jim, so I'm sure nothing to worry about. I wanted to turn our attention to the U.S. Supreme Court. A ruling came down today on choice schools. And Jim, I think this is a question I've asked before. How is it that we, the state taxpayers, with the separation of church and state, can pay for students to attend church schools effectively? And the U.S. Supreme Court said, well, because it's constitutional, of course. Jim, were you surprised by the ruling?
I was not surprised by it, only because it's consistent with what the Supreme Court has done. About a year or so ago, a case out of Montana had to do with scholarships. They likewise favored the religious folks who wanted to partake of a publicly supported scholarship program. So here today, Carson versus Macon, we're in the state of Maine. Maine permits parents of students in areas where there are not public schools to enroll their students in private schools using government funds. And that's okay. But the only prohibition on that that Maine established was it can't be a religious school, because that, according to Maine, and I think according to many, many people, would be in violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, right? Government should not be affirmatively supporting religion. Today, a majority of the Supreme Court said, nope, that's just fine. And to do the opposite would be discriminating against those religious schools and those families, and that this is their free exercise clause. And so, as Justice Breyer, who will not be on the court much longer, said, we're placing primacy on the exercise clause as opposed to the establishment clause, and we're coming out in favor of religion. It's consistent with what the Supreme Court has done recently. There's another case out there that's going to come out very soon, maybe Thursday, maybe next week. This is the football coach who's praying. My strong sense is, once again, the exercise clause in his capacity, his ability to pray publicly in a school setting, admittedly in a football game right after it, is probably going to take precedence over the establishment of that prayer inside an academic setting, admittedly a football game. I think we're going to see this again as soon as next week. It is the trend of the United States Supreme Court these days.
Jim, I had at least one final question. Darrell Brooks Jr., the Waukesha assailant, is now claiming not guilty by mental disease or defect. I didn't think you could just claim that.
You can't. And so the answer is there's a whole lot more. You simply can't say I am insane, sort of in the colloquial way of saying that. You've got to establish that. Plainly, there's got to be evidence to do that. The judge can take evidence based upon psychiatric examinations. There can be a contest about that, a hearing about that, and all the other things that surround this. What have you said since the time of the horrific event in downtown Waukesha, right down the street from you? What other things about your life would suggest that and here's the standard, you do not appreciate the nature of the charges against you, and second, you cannot assist in your own defense? That's a pretty high standard. So simply invoking it doesn't mean you get it. It's finally a judicial determination. We're not there yet with respect to Mr. Brooks.
Our fine guest, James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney. Jim, thank you so much for coming around. You know, I was really just trying to help build a defense for Rojo.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll keep working on that and other things. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon, gentlemen. Take care.
Thanks, man.
More Devils. We'll be back.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated.
I wish you weren't a liar.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
I just want you to know I hate you.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
But do you think the Biden administration's calling up Laura Ingraham and making the announcement to the world that we're invading Russia with amphibious troops? Come on, Trump. I mean, and I want to hear fine Trumpsters that want to defend that crap. You know, he's a little late for the early bird buffet. Maybe you people were just naive marks who believed he was a super genius. Then I got some land I'd like to sell you outside of Fukushima.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
I'm Kirk Bangstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
the Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open for your take today. Any thoughts on the J6 committee? 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, James Santelle. Don't forget, he's got his own live show on this fine network. Saturday mornings, 9 to 11, Morning Cannolis with Jim Santelle. So if you can't get enough to Jim, and who amongst us can, don't forget, I add a few calories to the diet on Saturday mornings. Actually, I hear they're sugar-free. Morning cannolis with James Santelle.
Don't eat them then.
Dom, I wanted to include a comment I saw about the activity, the testimony today from the J6. Anticipate this will be a guest on this fine program a little later in the week. Lieutenant Governor and U.S. senatorial candidate Mandela Barnes. Here's what Mandela had to say today, specifically about my traitorous senator. Ron Johnson actively tried to undermine this democracy. He literally tried to hand Mike Pence fake ballots. Once again, Ron Johnson has proven he's a danger to our country and our fundamental rights. I'm calling for him to resign immediately. Now, Dom, you and I have called for the former gubernator of the state of Wisconsin. We called for Wanker's resignation multiple times when new details of his corruption would come to light. I don't think Ron's going to resign. What do you think? I don't think he's going to give up the position any more than Donald Trump is, not without a fight.
No, probably not. But then his activities should be brought to bear down upon him. Everywhere he goes, everything he does, he will forever be known. You wanted to slide this over, man. You wanted this to happen. You were part of the insurrection. Congratulations. A key part. You were going to be the conduit. If it wasn't for the fact that the vice president's staff wanted nothing to do with it, Ron would have been over there, quick as he possibly could with a bag and some donuts. Here you go, fellas. And it wasn't, of course, that it was illogical. Hell, the theories, they kept on bouncing around. Well, what if we, say it's fraudulent, get these electors? Well, that's not going to fly. Well, what does it need to fly? We just need to show that there's a couple of different sets of electors, and that's all we really need. So as they came to different, headwinds, they shift their gears and shift their strategy because, of course, it was just all in search of a coup, a legal justification for a coup, and the Wisconsin Republicans were neck deep in it. Senator Ron Johnson, neck deep in it.
Can I read you a breaking headline at the Raw Story, one of my favorite sources?
Michael, I insist.
Ron Johnson blasted in Wisconsin after being first senator named in the J6 hearings. Well, they named him by name, Dom. The office of GOP Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin was implicated in Donald Trump's phony electoral scheme during Tuesday's public hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, or like democracy and the vice president. Hey, it was like he was Michael Corleone going to meet the guy at the restaurant, right? He wanted to hand
the crowd was positive and festive,
but he wanted to hand off the fake electors to Mike Pence, the very same Mike Pence that very soon thereafter was,
threatened with hanging.
Yes. Do you think that Ron was going to
handle this better?
Deliver a message? Let me read a little bit more from the Raw Stories coverage. This via the Wisconsin State Journal. Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson wanted to hand then Vice President Mike Pence official-looking documents falsely affirming former President Donald Trump won in Wisconsin and Michigan as Pence prepared to confirm Joe Biden's win in January of 2021, according to text messages revealed at the U.S. House hearings Tuesday. The Wisconsin document, signed by 10 Republicans who convened in the state capitol on December 14th, 2020. Now, who else do we know that got cited for going into a locked Wisconsin state capitol that week, Dom?
I think wasn't it us?
Well, 3 out of 4 panelists on this show right now, me, you, Fancy Brian, we were all cited for entering a locked building during a pandemic. Yet these very same, Republican Party officials, people like Andrew Hitt and Kelly Rowe, and let's not forget the disgraced Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Bob Spindell, who said, well, the Trump campaign called us and asked us to be false electors. Been telling the press that since day one. And Andrew Hitt's testimony, less than convincing, according to former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. Oh, no, I was only going to be a false elector if things went our way in court. But let's not forget the timeline. The Wisconsin Supreme Court had ruled an hour before they met that very same day and had closed any legal pathways for the Trump, to overturn the Wisconsin outcome. So back to the anti-Rojo reporting. December 14, 2020, they filled out on the same day the Democratic slate of Wisconsin electors met in the same building to deliver the state's 10 electoral votes to Biden. The meeting of Republicans occurred after the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled Biden had won the election. Well, it kind of puts a hole in your defense, doesn't it, Andrew?
Well, if it puts a hole in his defense, doesn't that make his comments wrong and untruthful? And therefore, if he was under oath, should not he be held in contempt?
I think he's got bigger problems than perjury at this point, Tom.
A little bit more here. Leanne Caldwell, the Washington Post, reported it was the first time the actions of a senator had been highlighted by the committee.
Probably not the last, though. Looking at you, Holly. Looking at you, Ted Cruz. You, Mike Lee.
The evidence presented Tuesday once again showed that Wisconsin, one of 7 states Biden won, where groups of Republicans gathered as false presidential electors, was at the center of efforts to overturn the election. That's from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. A text message from State GOP Executive Director Mark Jefferson, also presented Tuesday, indicated Trump's campaign team wanted the elector paperwork flown to Washington, D.C. Johnson has received some harsh criticism, Curdy. You read what Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes had to say. Some others that wish to run against Ron Johnson, like Alex Lasry, a Democrat running for senator.
Should be a guest on this fine show later in the week.
Oh, nice.
I'm booking up the convention show.
Oh, that's right. That's this weekend.
Getting the week all loaded up.
Lasry said Trump and his MAGA allies planned, promoted, and paid for a seditious conspiracy to overturn the election they lost. And Ron Johnson attempted to deliver it to D.C. on a silver platter. That's Alex Lasry. He called Johnson a seditious traitor and a danger to our democracy. Tom Nelson, who was also running for senator, said Ron Johnson is a traitor. He must resign. Voters won't forget this, he wrote. And let's throw out just one more. I believe it was Sarah Godlewski had retweeted a local journalist who said that a spokesperson for Johnson said he was unaware of the plan to send fake electors to his office and that Johnson's chief of staff acted on his own. Sarah Godlewski, also running for senator, had one word reply. She retweeted, BS. I can't say it. She did.
I'd say it if I were on Fox News. You think they'll invite me back to recap Ron's involvement?
I hope so.
So do I in this narrow case. More Devil's Advocates. You'll have to stick around for the happier happy hours.
I think the White House could have handled this better.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
This isn't very nice, is it?
Decorating your home is personal. You want your place to be unique. That's why you should check out Art and Framing 123 in downtown Waukesha. Discover home decor items from Treasury Hunter Ramona and original artwork by D.E., also known as Friday Night Live artist Dan Eng. Art and Framing 123 has a custom framing service for your diplomas, posters, Packer certificates, images on canvas, photos, and more. Art and Framing 123, 311 West Main across from the hotel. Let them know you heard about them on the Shaw.
This is Norm from Martha Merrill Books in downtown Waukesha, 231 West Main Street. We've been in business now almost 28 years. We're the book detectives. We can find adult and children's books, even if they're out of print. If we can't find it, it's probably not available. At Martha Merrill's, we specialize in unique gifts. We sell puppets and stuffed animals, but we don't sell watches because we're timeless. We do gift wrapping. When you walk out of the store, you have a present ready. Martha Merrill Books, 231 West Main Street.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W226DR Waukesha, always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. In the fourth hearing for the House committee investigating the Capitol riot, the focus has been on Donald Trump's pressure to overturn results of the 2020 vote, leading to violent threats. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
The panel played a phone call in which Trump asked Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find enough votes to beat Joe Biden.
I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Appearing before the panel,
we didn't have any votes to find.
Raffensperger followed Arizona GOP House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who described Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani pushing Trump's false voter fraud claims.
He said, "We've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence."
And never produced any. After Bowers said he wouldn't do anything illegal to help Trump, he described chilling threats and harassment, as did Georgia election worker Shay Moss.
Wishing death upon me.
Trump had called out Moss and her mom, a fellow poll worker, whom he called a professional vote scammer. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The Supreme Court ruled the state of Maine can't exclude religious schools from a program that offers tuition aid for private education. The AP's Mark Sherman reports on the possible impact of the ruling.
Today's decision could give some new impetus to proponents of school choice in states that have so far declined to adopt school choice programs, and particularly school choice programs that include religious schools.
The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Colonel Steve McCraw, says police had enough officers and firepower on the scene of the Uvalde school massacre to have stopped the gunman 3 minutes after he entered the building. It took them an hour to get in.
Well, obviously not enough training was done in this situation. Plain and simple, because of bad decision, terrible decisions. Terrible decisions were made by the on-scene commander and should have never happened.
McCraw called it an abject failure. The Dow finished up 641 points. This is AP News. President Biden visited a vaccination clinic in Washington, D.C.
A monumental step forward. The United States is now the first country in the world to offer safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines for children as young as 6 months old.
While anyone ages 6 months and up is now eligible for vaccines, the administration is cautioning that it expects the pace of shots for the youngest kids to be slower than the older ones. The president was also asked about the possibility of a gas tax holiday to help drivers paying much higher gas prices. Will it mean a slowing down of road and bridge projects because of a lack of tax money?
It will have some impact, but it's not going to have an impact on major road construction and major repairs.
Sounds like you may have made a decision.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm in the process. I'll have a decision before the week is out.
White House aides have been meeting with oil company executives. A possible gas tax holiday could save as much as 18 cents a gallon at the pump. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
The Shaw 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM, Wisconsin's home for rational talk radio. Listen to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk radio station, bringing you a lineup of live talk radio every single weekday. Kick off your afternoon with local headlines and multiple trains of thought by listening to Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian. Tune in for the political party that is the Devil's Advocates radio show every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Right here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
No matter what era of life you're in, ERA's Senior Network is here for you. For older adults in an era of life after retirement, ERA's can engage you in meaningful volunteer opportunities like tutoring local students or driving an older adult to a medical appointment or grocery store. You may be in an era of needing additional support, and ERA's Senior Network can match you with a screened and trained volunteer to get you where you need to go or provide ongoing friendship through a weekly friendly phone call. For more information, www.eras.org.
Come on down to Mary Jane's on Main in downtown Waukesha. We are all things hemp. Edibles, flowers, chocolates, Delta 8, 10, P, and O. We also have clothing, shoes, jewelry, toiletries, but most importantly, education. Come into the store. Let me educate you on all things hemp. Whether you smoke it or wear it, come and get it at Mary Jane's on Main. Or you can see us every Saturday at the farmer's market. I'm Mary, and let me show you how hemp can help you.
A progressive voice for rural Wisconsin. WAUK 540 AM. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
For the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, I'm Sam Butson with your headlines.
The Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM will be broadcasting the January 6th committee hearing live, gavel to gavel, starting at noon today. On Monday, U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin joined leadership from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to announce $80 million of federal pandemic relief aid being awarded to the Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives. Of the recipients of the funds, Wisconsin Dairy Business Initiative Alliance, led by the University of Wisconsin Center of Dairy Research, and Wisconsin's Cheesemaker Alliance will receive $20 million in relief funds. In 2018, Senator Baldwin authorized the legislation that created the Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives in order to support the dairy industry in Wisconsin and around the nation. Sunshine is in the forecast today with an expected high of 94 degrees and a heat advisory going into effect from noon to 7 p.m. There may be a stray shower or thunderstorm into the night with winds up to 15 miles per hour and a nightly low of 66 degrees. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
Live programming for WAUK Radio 540 AM and 101 FM is produced right in the Shaw in beautiful downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin. Alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday J6 Live Recap Edition. I got Dominic, I got Fancy Brian, I got Evan lightly screening the calls at 844-967-2789. And this hour is for the audience reaction to the breaking news in the great state of Wisconsin and across the nation. First U.S. Senator, name by name, by the January 6th committee. It was our buddy Rojo.
All right.
You used to book that guy on this show with frequency. We had more than 25 long-form interviews with Ron Johnson.
Wow, really?
More than 25. And then something changed. And do you remember how the audience used to hate our asses for interviewing Rojo?
Yep.
They were right. We were wrong.
What?
I mean, had you any indication? I mean, I used to say Rojo was country club cordial. I used to say, no, you don't, in private, folks. He doesn't even like Trump. That was the impression he left me with. And he tweets too much, and I talked about kids and grandkids and family with the guy. But something changed. Something has changed. Well, now he has been implicated in a criminal conspiracy, a coup, if you will, against the United States government. That's kind of a big deal.
What, the same government that he is a senator in? That guy and all these Republicans, that they're all part of this government that they rail against? I mean, you guys realize you are part of that government, right?
He wanted to stay part of the Trump reign. His goal was to personally hand off to the vice president on January 6th to hand off the false Trump electors from the state of Wisconsin. He knew that Joe Biden won Wisconsin.
And
You've
Michigan,
heard Rojo do the math.
Was there reporting
do the math
that he would also drop off Michigan's? What he was going to do a twofer? Did you see any of that reporting?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to be clear on that. Yeah.
Oh, we've got the sound. How about just the abbreviated bite? Just for context. Fancy Brian played for the people. Ron Johnson being exposed at 1:09 Central Time during the J6 testimony. Please play for the people.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yeah, both states.
Wow.
A twofer.
Wow, so efficient. See, that's Republican governance for you, efficiency.
Someone go trademark twofer coofer.
.com.
844-9, like as the Rojo re-elective campaign. I mean, final thought, and then we'll get to the phones at 844-967-2789. This has got to be politically disastrous. I mean, you can't tell me that Ron's going to get 50+1 in the state of Wisconsin. 60% of people currently think that Trump should be prosecuted. 20% of Republicans, those same 20%, at least those paying attention, certainly amongst those listening to this fine radio program, are going to come to the conclusion that Ron Johnson should also be prosecuted. Can you be both prosecuted and reelected in the same cycle? Is that permissible? I didn't know you could do that.
I don't think the Office of Legal Counsel recommends against the prosecution of a sitting senator like they wrongly do for a sitting president.
844-967-2789. I never knew or even would have guessed that Ron Johnson would be criminally implicated in the J6 testimony.
No, I just want to be clear.
Opinion.
I want to be clear. His press secretary says that he had no involvement in that.
Yeah, well, the evidence says otherwise. Hopes and dreams and wishes and
and this ignorance that they have, these Republicans.
I know nothing. I see nothing. That's what he said about Stormy.
That bank right there, it's holding all of our money, your money and my money. That's our money. Let's go get the money out of that bank. That's ours. I don't care what they say. I promise you, I have the proof that it's ours. I'll give it to you later. But let's just go get it. They're not going to give it to us. Let's just go get the money out of that bank. You can believe that the money in the bank is yours when it's most certainly not. But if you go and take the act to go try to forcibly take that money out of that bank, say with like a gun and, rob the bank, even if you believed it in your soul that is your money, you're still robbing a bank. No, still should be prosecuted.
It is their money because Ron wrote his own withdrawal slips. So what if they're fraudulent? He's got the receipts.
Oh, right.
So he wrote himself out withdrawal slips, so he didn't rob the bank. And hell, he didn't even know who wrote up the withdrawal slips. He just delivered them to the teller, while he's holding the gun.
Wow,
I mean, this is
I know.
big news.
This is amazing.
I'm a little flummoxed. I'm so stunned. I know an upper echelon criminal on first name basis.
Besides me.
Don't I, Ron? 844-967-2789. Let's go to the phones. Andy from Beaver Dam. Happy days, Andy. How you doing, man?
Hey,
Happy days. Well, I just want to make two quick points. First of all, Watergate, which you guys were little kids, it almost seems like Watergate is nothing. Ehrlichman, Halderman, and John Dean, and Mitchell, and everybody. What's going on, what I heard today on your station was really innocent people trying to do the right thing and being harassed and so forth. And there's no comparison in terms of congressional hearings.
You're right.
The second,
and nobody died over Watergate. There have been at least 5 deaths.
No. Exactly. But Rojo, how can you put him in our history of the state of Wisconsin in the same line with Bill Proxmire?
Well, I put him in the same line with Joe McCarthy.
McCarthy's actually maybe a thing compared to this, legal stuff. I mean, it's just, I can't see where Rojo has any way out of, pleading that he didn't do anything illegal.
Well, the good news is he's a rich man. He can afford Johnny Cochran and the whole team.
He can afford a good effing attorney, Andy.
Yeah, bring him out of the grave, Johnny Cochran. That'll be great. But, all right, that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, he'll go farther with Johnny Cochran than Rudy Giuliani.
I wonder, knowing this now, knowing that this was ultimately going to come out, and, everything eventually usually comes out, that if this played into Ron Johnson's decision to run for a third term. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he could have walked away, but now that this is out and he's running, I mean, he gets.
Well, he didn't want someone else to have the subpoena power, the gavel.
Maybe
if he's going to investigate, he's going to investigate himself, right?
Yeah, and nothing to see here, folks. Hey, I did the investigation. I asked my press secretary if I had anything to do with it. She said no. So let's just move on. End of story. End of story. They literally ended their quote with "end of story." Anytime anybody gives you the end of story, it is most certainly not the end of the story.
It might be the end of the current conversation.
Don't even think about it.
But it ain't
Don't
the end
even
of the
think
story.
about it. Don't even think about it.
844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Britt listening in Eureka, California, KGOE country. Welcome, Britt.
Hey, Britt.
Oh, I had some good commentary, but I'm laughing too hard from you guys. You're killing me. It's the end of the story. Wow. I don't know what to think anymore. I just heard you talking about Rojo, your buddy there, and your representative there in Wisconsin. And
our senior senator and chief conspiracist.
Yes. And maybe soon to be, hopefully, an inmate at some local penal institution, because that's actually a question I kind of have here. When is the charge is going to drop? I mean, I think that the committee is doing an absolute bang up job revealing all of this testimony. And it's like you couldn't have a big enough bag of popcorn for what's happening with this show. I mean, it's all getting revealed, and there's new characters coming up left and right, and there's all kinds of plot developments, and it's a real show. And I can't give the committee more credit. They just deserve all the world for revealing this charlatan scam and literal, seditionist conspiracy plot to overthrow the government. I mean, it's a pretty outrageous.
Britt, wait till season 2. No, it is crazy. And it's crazy to me that, there's a whole Trump supportive part of the electorate that's not being exposed to it because their news sources are either counter programming or actively still supporting the big lie, Britt. Trump got screwed.
Yeah, no, yep, it's so very true. I mean, when you hear about these organizations like OAN and Newsmax, which somehow showed up on my box the other night, now it shows up on my homepage on my TV. I say, how the hell did Newsmax show up? But it's just outrageous. I mean, it's really, it's a split. It's a dichotomous country now. We have a country of two worlds. People living in a false reality, and everybody else trying to tell them, hey, wake up. You guys are, you're fomenting a revolution that has no basis in fact or sanity in that, for that matter.
And either way, Britt, once you say you're fomenting a resolution, pretty much anything after that is absolutely irrelevant. Thanks for the call. Eureka, California. We love you out there.
Humboldt County, baby. the Emerald Triangle.
Oh, it's quite insane. It really is. And I guess, Britt, I was thinking you were going to lead up to where the prosecutions, right? What's happening at the DOJ? Well, certainly, they're asking for transcripts. They've done their own investigations. There's grand juries in Fulton County. They're way ahead of us, I think, in this regard. I don't believe that this committee is going to present any evidence to us that the DOJ probably hasn't already gotten.
No, I think they're getting new evidence, at least the transcripts. I think it's going to take them 90 days. I'm looking for an October surprise, baby. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
Ron Johnson's right about Ron Johnson's being right.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
Why not gargle? Don't even think about it.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
Ah, this is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
President
Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Douglas LaFollette, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Good to be here, Mike. Across the country, in most every state, the Secretary of State is the person who is in charge of the election. And we've seen lots of hanky-panky in Florida back during the Al Gore elections, in Ohio and Georgia and Arizona and Michigan.
We appreciate you coming around, sir.
Check out the entire podcast library at darnwi.com.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum. That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe. I didn't know the trees were so amazing. Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb. That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Your calls always welcome here at 844-967-2789. Crew, do you want to just respond briefly to our conversation with Britt and you, talking about what whitey-righty and Fox News are saying? Now, I did happen to scan past Neil Cavuto today in the car.
Fox Business.
Fox, I'm not clear which one it was.
He
was
asking,
he was inquiring as he kind of reviewed some of the testimony. After playing some of it, he asked of his guest, well, this doesn't look good for the president, does it? So they were fairly critical for Fox in that regard. I would just mention that.
Neil Cavuto, I believe, is a Fox Business News. I don't mean to diminish the.
So you're saying that because if
network.
it wasn't on the main station that people would not have seen.
Well, they've been putting their J6 coverage on the Fox Business, where it gets about 200,000 viewers, while MSNBC actually playing the primetime coverage was getting like 4.1 million viewers. You can see the difference there. That's part of what I called them out for. And on the big channel, the primetime, the first one. And let's not forget, there will be a primetime wrap-up. Fox News will have a quandary. Because will they, run Tucker without commercial interruption? Or will they play the closing ceremonies? That'll be...
Well, after the pressure
question.
you laid that lumber, Crudy, I think they're absolutely going to do it.
Well, here's some more lumber being laid on the Trump family. Dom, there's videotape of the entire Trump family from the day of January 6th. And interviews with Trump both before and after the insurrection. So this is the headline I'm reading. This is initially from the Twitter stream of CBS News' Robert Acosta. Trump lawyers were blindsided when a documentary film crew showed up to the campaign HQ. It's like it was a unvetted project, apparently, Dom. Like somebody thought it was a good idea to do a documentary about the coup attempt.
Gotta love the narcissism that, wouldn't this be the most fabulous karma in the world that Trump's and the family's own narcissistic behaviors, the very activities they wanted it recorded, that brought him down.
It was revealed on Tuesday that the House Select Committee investigating the J6 Capitol riots has subpoenaed documentary filmmaker Alex Holder, who reportedly has footage taken of the Trump family during and immediately after the deadly siege. Now, the J6, again, the source of this information, CBS News reporter Robert Costa, who said that campaign officials appeared to have been blindsided by the camera crew, which showed up at the Trump campaign headquarters at least once. They also remember it being odd because campaign's legal team seemed surprised, as if it was an unvetted project. The campaign's lawyers were like, what is this? What's going on today? saw it as another side project from the family and Trump confidants. So this is a different documentary film than the crew following Roger Stone around, apparently, right?
Yes.
The House Select Committee asked Holder to turn over raw footage that took place on January 6th and featured interviews with, and wait for it, Tom, Donald Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Jared Kushner. They only left out Tiffany here, Dom. She's perhaps the only Trump not going to jail from her own words. Was Tiffany not brought in on the whole coup d'etat plan? The one other thing, I see it's being reported that Ivanka Trump, privately, she, publicly, she was against the scheme. She was supportive of Bill Barr. Bill Barr said
it. That must be true.
Now, apparently, she wanted to continue to fight the 2020 fight. That was the private conversations. The public one's a little bit different. We'll get to that. Let's get to the phones. 844-967-2789.
All right, hang on, Crudy, real quick. Yes, Neil Cavuto does have a 4 p.m. Central Your World with Neil Cavuto on Fox News. So that was the actual Fox station. Yes, just want to clear that up. So I guess that's the good news, is that
I've been wrong about Neil Cavuto, and you were wrong 25 times for booking Ron Johnson.
But I guess is it having an effect? Yeah, if Neil Cavuto was playing cuts from testimony at 3 p.m. Central Time on his
Tucker
show
does
on Fox
it tonight,
News,
you made a point. 844-967-2789. Let's get to the phones. Joe from Madison, you're next. Welcome.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, this is not the end of the story. In fact, just in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel article, here's a nice, choice little tidbit about the staffer who apparently called the vice president's office at the behest of his boss, Senator Ron Johnson. His name is Sean Riley. Now, here's the detail I find interesting. Riley started working for Senator Johnson, in 2015. He began his new job as chief of staff for Johnson the week of January 6, 2021, after a year-long stint working for Trump. How tidy. He's been working for Trump for a year and then lands a job as chief of staff for Senator Johnson. I don't think it's the end of the story. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it might be somewhat coincidental. Didn't your buddy Ben Vogel go out and run for lieutenant governor as a candidate?
Yes.
And now he's back with the Ron Johnson campaign. Your timing, excellent, Ben. Day before your boss is exposed as a co-conspirator and a
Should I text him?
Yeah, see if Ron's available to make comment later in the big show. You can take him on the phone or Zoom or whatever. Hell, you can all make comment right here. Joe, you got any final thoughts?
As I said, I don't think it's the end of the story. And interestingly, that our senator did not immediately fire someone who placed him in such legal jeopardy. Are you kidding me?
Great point.
Wouldn't that be the first thing?
Absolutely. Oh my God! Look what you just did. You said what? You committed me to bring these fraudulent elector scheme and Michigan's too. How am I supposed to get Michigan's? You're fired. That's a great point.
Would you trust that very same person to go out on Twitter and clean up your mess, or would you go out and make a public statement yourself? Deny, hide. Come back. More Devil's Advocates.
I know nothing.
This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Having this all come out into public has exposed things that didn't need to be exposed.
The Shaw 101 FM, Franklin's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Smart Asset Realty offers everything necessary to help you successfully evaluate, acquire, and maintain any size property and maximize a property's potential value. Whether it's the first time you are purchasing a house or managing your next apartment complex, we are here to reach your real estate goals. Start investing now. We take the headaches, you keep the profit. Contact us at 262-232-8738 or visit us at smartassetrealty.com.
Se habla español.
Listen to the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk radio station. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show is live every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. Join Native Roots Radio from 6 to 7 p.m. for updates about Native news, culture, and activism. The 7 o'clock hour is for local programming, including the Paul Revere Show on Mondays, Busted Pencils on Tuesdays, and the Up North podcast.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. In the fourth hearing for the House committee investigating the Capitol riot, the focus has been on Donald Trump's pressure to overturn results of the 2020 vote, leading to violent threats. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
The panel played a phone call in which Trump asked Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find enough votes to beat Joe Biden.
I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Appearing before the panel,
we didn't have any votes to find.
Raffensperger followed Arizona GOP House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who described Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani pushing Trump's false voter fraud claims.
He said, "We've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence."
And never produced any. After Bowers said he wouldn't do anything illegal to help Trump, he described chilling threats and harassment, as did Georgia election worker Shay Moss.
Wishing death upon me.
Trump had called out Moss and her mom, a fellow poll worker, whom he called a professional vote scammer. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The Supreme Court ruled the state of Maine can't exclude religious schools from a program that offers tuition aid for private education. The AP's Mark Sherman reports on the possible impact of the ruling.
Today's decision could give some new impetus to proponents of school choice in states that have so far declined to adopt school choice programs, and particularly school choice programs that include religious schools.
The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Colonel Steve McCraw, says police had enough officers and firepower on the scene of the Uvalde school massacre to have stopped the gunman 3 minutes after he entered the building. It took them an hour to get in.
Well, obviously not enough training was done in this situation. Plain and simple, because of bad decision, terrible decisions. Terrible decisions were made by the on-scene commander and should have never happened.
McCraw called it an abject failure. The Dow finished up 641 points. This is AP News.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. It appears Senator Ron Johnson was going to be a mule on January 6th, delivering physical copies of the fake electors' certificates from Wisconsin and Michigan to Vice President Pence on that fateful day. But in a text message exchange shared Tuesday by the January 6th committee, a Pence aide tells a Johnson staffer the senatorial equivalent of, "Oh, hell no." A Johnson spokesperson threw the staffer under the bus, saying Johnson didn't have the fake ballots and had no knowledge such a delivery was in the works. And the January 6th committee showed off a text message from the executive director of the Wisconsin State Republican Party about the scheme. Quote, "Freaking Trump idiots want someone to fly original elector papers to the Senate president. They're going to call one of us to tell us what the hell is going on." Get that and more in our daily newsletter. Sign up at upnorthnewswi.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The Tuesday edition feels like a Friday to me, though, Dom. I'm taking off a midweeker. I'll be gone tomorrow. I'm going to end up on Thursday when I next broadcast live in La Crosse, Wisconsin, our old stomping grounds. And I'm going to do a show Thursday, Friday, and you're going to join me for 4 and 5 o'clock. We're going to do the big show, but I'll be in La Crosse, and we're going to have lots of, let's say, 3rd Congressional CD sort of attention, and hopefully some of the big U.S. senatorial candidates that like to go up against Ron Johnson, let's just say. The traitorous traitor from the state of Wisconsin, Ron Johnson.
The freaking Trump idiot, right? Who was this dude? Who was this cat from the Wisconsin Republican Party? Some executive director is like, "Hey, these freaking Trump idiots." And who ultimately apparently wanted or was going to be or was inclined to be one of those freaking Trump idiots?
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Now, if You don't like our fine programming, Dom, because we're going to be done at 6 o'clock on Friday night. And of course, if you were unaware, we're going to do the special Democratic Party of Wisconsin convention coverage. I'm going to give you a little pregame show and then the live speeches Saturday night. So we're going to do it. We're not unplugging from the politics. We're plugging into the politics this Saturday night. I'll be in La Crosse, but Ron Johnson will be speaking at the Election Integrity Network conference. And if you'd like to attend, because who knows more about election integrity than the guy that wanted to personally deliver the fraudulent Trump elector votes to Mike Pence? Well, head on down to the Renaissance Milwaukee West Hotel.
Woohoo!
Not staying at a Holiday Inn Express.
I might be able to make that.
2600 North Mayfair Road, Wauwatosa.
Tosa, baby.
Friday's big event includes a 2 p.m. registration, 3 p.m. bonus training, poll watching in Wisconsin, 6 p.m. reception dinner with remarks by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. And then they're doing it again on Saturday. They got a big event. It's a whole day. But Rojo's the guest of honor, I suspect. Do you think he'll be hailed as a hero? And this whole election integrity
his comments,
network?
I wonder if his comments might be limited. Like filter through a really good effing attorney.
I don't think so. Do you know who's putting on this conference? Unless he no-shows, unless he cancels. Cleta Mitchell.
Former Foley and Lardner. They let her ass go after they found out she was involved in all this.
Well, she was talking on whitey-righty talk radio, and she described it as when I left Foley and Lardner. She apparently went on to lead many of the Trump lawsuits unsuccessfully, as fate would have it. And now, righty-whitey talk radio hostess Vicki McKenna is promoting the big event, encouraging you all to sign up and go there. I would too. If you're feeling kind of frisky, go down to the Mayfair Renaissance. What is it called? I don't want to get it wrong. I'd hate to misreference. Renaissance Milwaukee West Hotel, Wauwatosa.
Well, and I also don't want to get it wrong. Apparently, law firms from the ABAjournal.com, Foley and Lardner partner who has participated in a Saturday phone call. This is back in January 5th of 2021. Between President Donald Trump and Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is no longer with the firm. A quote, Cleta Mitchell has informed firm management of her decision to resign from Foley and Lardner, effective immediately. Ms. Mitchell concluded that her departure was in the firm's best interest as well as her own personal best interest. We thank her for her contributions to the firm and wish her well.
Well, she had been criminally implicated in that she was on the phone call when Trump went looking for the 11,780 votes in Georgia. That was also featured in the testimony while she was giving her own brand of testimony, on righty-whitey talk radio in Madison and Milwaukee today.
That was apparently after the firm management responded on Monday to the reports. Again, this is back in 2021. They were concerned by her actions, and then she resigned apparently the next day.
Oh, more honorable speakers down here at the big convention. Janelle Brandtjen, who heads up the Wisconsin Assembly Elections Commission, the same one that empowered Gableman. Gableman's going to be
coup
there.
Parties, man. I mean, is Gableman coming?
He'll be there.
I mean, he lives in East Berlin. It's not that far away, dude.
The Ninja Turtles and came back really excited about.
Yeah, that was Evers describing. Here's a guy who's going to vote for Ron Johnson. Let's see why. CJ, welcome back. Defend Ron Johnson.
Hey, CJ.
Howdy, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I don't think he's been charged with anything yet, has he?
Do you think he did anything wrong by engaging in
that
behavior?
Did you hear the public evidence today, CJ? It was pretty damning.
I did. I did watch it.
Were you unbothered by it?
Yeah, there's some things I think if those poll workers, anybody who threatened them should be charged.
How about a guy who conspired to overturn the peaceful transition of power and hand off fake electors to the vice president, guy that happens to serve from Wisconsin, your senator and mine, CJ? What about that guy?
And he's going to be reelected with a huge windfall because you guys pick and choose Bill Barr's quotes. Why don't you pick the one where he says he hasn't seen anything where Trump or anybody else will be criminally charged?
Well, that's not his decision to make. He was in the Trump camp. I'll take the next guy's word for the DOJ charges. I'll take Bill Barr's word for the BS that was the lack of evidence of fraud, CJ.
Crudy, you do play his quotes. Remember, you pick and choose where you use what he says.
I use the meaningful ones, like when he said there was no voter fraud. I quoted him on Fox News, if you'll recall, CJ. So he's unmoved. Ron Johnson can be a traitorous, treacherous bastard, and CJ still loves his guy. And he thinks other Republicans will as well, which makes you a freaking fascist, CJ.
CJ, I know.
Well, keep calling, man.
No, I want to hear CJ. Normally we drop you off right now, but Crudy made some pretty harsh comments about it. Please.
So why are we giving him an opportunity?
Because I want to hear what he has to say about you calling him a fascist. That's why. CJ, are you a fascist if you support Ron Johnson, and why not?
Because he hasn't been charged and proved with anything. But you talk to James Santelle. Is this going to move the needle? Everyday people go to the grocery store and gas station and live the big lie of your candidate, regardless what you did with Trump. We want his policies back. Gave us a secure country. Gave us
a secure country. All right, now I'm cutting you off, CJ. Sorry, Crudy. A secure country, dude. He did not give us a secure country. The activity of an insurrectionist coup against the government is the exact opposite of a secure country. Do you think Lady Ruby felt secure? Do you think Brad Raffensperger, Republican, felt secure? Do you think Rusty from Arizona felt secure, CJ? Come on, man. You know it's BS. I met you. I know you. I know you're trolling. You cannot possibly believe that. This man, nobody has done what this man has done to this country, and we're seeing it more and more every single day.
I know we try to take all callers, but really, do we have to take the coup supportive?
No, we don't.
Okay,
nobody did what I've done.
844-967-2789. Mark from the SAC, welcome. What do you got?
Hey, Mark.
You better not be coup supportive.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was unsurprised when I heard the news about Ron Johnson because I just figured that's just the kind of
he was.
And
I couldn't believe it, man. I was wowed.
I was not wowed at all because I think that Tom Tiffany and Scott Fitzgerald might be in on this whole thing. And the whole thing of it is, if these guys were aware that this stuff was going on, they should have been sounding the trumpet, the clarion call, saying we have to do something about this because this is wrong. This is a crime. This is a crime against the democracy. It's a crime against Wisconsin. And they did not do it. I mean,
come on, admire the fact nobody snitched.
Yeah, well,
hey, this is how we know we're a family. No leaks, right? Isn't that what Speaker Paul Ryan said when they thought that that President Trump was one of the two people in their discussion literally getting paid by Putin?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean the question I would have for Jim Santelle is that all the money the Trump family has collected after leaving office, because they set up all these deals while they were in office, as payout, and they get the payoff after they're out of office. Is that a violation of the emoluments clause, and is something that the whole damn works of them should be prosecuted for?
Mark, you're talking parking tickets, man. We got much more substantial charges to level against all these characters. A coup's a bigger deal than an emoluments clause violation.
Well, but if the emoluments clause violation is the violation that can claw back some money, then I'm okay with that, Mark. I mean, we can do all of it.
Where are we clawing back money from? Who's giving back the money?
He's got assets, man. I mean, you'll see it in the bankruptcy proceedings. Yes.
Come on, man. The guy's leveraged to the gills. That guy's 5 minutes from bankruptcy. He's got no money. It's a charade.
A charade or a charade? Come on, man. He has the assets. He is leveraged to the gills, but he has assets. I mean, I know.
You know what they say? They say it's a base or it's a boss. The Trump holdings, it's a base, man. It's a base. That's what I'm telling you.
Listen, Trump's got money, right? And I mean, Trump's entire personality is in his persona and everything he does. And actually, all the idol worship and cult leadership that he gives, it is because of the money. If Trump was just some crazy old orange man standing on a soapbox in downtown Milwaukee, he would be ignored. But the man has the money, and the Republicans are so desperate to serve those with the money. That's how they're trained. That's how they do it. I mean, they're susceptible.
Money
to this,
makes right.
Well,
if that guy's richer than me, he must be better than me. Because
absolutely,
God
isn't
has
that some of the Christian nationalists be? If you are blessed by God, you are very rich. Therefore, those who are very rich are blessed by God. Yes, that's part of their thing.
You don't even have to be very rich. You just got to make the claim.
But I guess that's the point, man. He's got some money, and if I don't think that the parking tickets is, the emoluments clause. I mean, come on, man. Jared Kushner getting $2 billion from the Saudis, for investments and something that he doesn't really do. I mean, come on, man. That reeks like all this other stuff reeks. And if it reeks, you got to go clean it up. And we have the capabilities, we have the faculties, and we have the United States Treasury to go after and make sure that, punk rich guys like Donald Trump, you do not have more money than the United States government. You do not have more resources than we, the people. And when we see this so very evident across all platforms and everything they touch, you damn right you better go after the parking tickets.
Well, Saudi Arabia might have more money than we do.
Don't even get me going on hacksaw over there. Come on, man. And Biden too, because he's going apparently.
Trucker Dean, welcome to the big show, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, Trucker Dean.
How you guys doing?
Good, man.
We alternate being fired up, depending on who's talking.
Happy and mad.
I'd like to give Trump one more asset. We'll just take a prison, put big golden letters above the door that says Trump, he'll walk right in. He'll walk right in, think it's his.
Do you think his followers will stick money in the commentary account?
Yes,
so
I
you get
do.
some toothpaste and some ramen noodles?
Send money for cigarettes, Trucker Dean.
I think so. I think that'd be the way to go. So, you guys have a good day.
Thank you,
All
Dean.
right, thanks, man. Appreciate it, dude.
You know what? We'll take some more calls on the other side of this brief commercial break. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's frustrating, but it's funny, but it's frustrating, and you want to kill somebody. But that make us as bad as the coup plotting insurrectionists.
And we're not that bad.
No, so we'll just rhetorically kick your ass. Come back, more Devil's Advocates. Don't cross me, man. Or not, because, alternatively, we're both a little hangry. You might be a little boozy. I can't tell what you're drinking over there.
It's coffee cup.
I can tell you this. It's 81 degrees in my studio. Ooh. This Devil Radio thing, it's a little too close to hell here for my taste. By the time the air conditioner kicks in, I'll be done. Come back, more Devils.
We're a very compassionate society, and government's role is to help people that can't help themselves or help people.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. A Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Saturday workouts.
Hey, girl. Hey, what's up? You almost done? About 2 minutes or so. Meet you outside.
Then brunch.
See you there.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
We've mentioned, inflation is going to be an issue. Let me ask you this. What would you like to see Donald Trump do if you were here? What did you suggest Biden do to address the inflationary pressures we're facing right now?
Well, I can't tell you that because that would be something you could counter and defeat Trump with, or the Republican Party. So tell you.
You think Trump's taking strategy from you on talk radio, Lou?
I mean, you're no Kid Rock, Lou.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Monaco Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at soundidouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the last segment of this fine day. So if you got something to say, hit us up right now. Toll free talk or text 844-967-2789. Crudy, you're just smirking over there. You're just too happy. What's up, man?
You see my dimples flaring?
Yeah.
There is new video of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson from the great state of Wisconsin being questioned about the earlier in the day testimony, the questionnaire Manu Raju from CNN.
Oh, yeah.
The headline, and Rojo, you made the Raw story headline twice today. Uh-oh. The headline at this moment, Ron Johnson claims he has no idea who told him to deliver the package of fake electors to Pence. And if I could understand the reporting correctly, Ron kept saying, this is not a story over and over again.
End of
this
story.
Is not a story. This
End
is not
of
a
story.
story.
Nothing
and
to
Manu
see here.
Raju
Move
kept
along.
asking him questions.
Manu.
On Tuesday, CNN congressional reporter Manu Raju said that Senator Ron Johnson confirmed to him that he received the package of fake electors from Wisconsin and Michigan to hand to former Vice President Mike Pence. So now he's confirmed the validity of the story.
So
it happened.
Right. Say that again. He received.
Ron Johnson confirmed to Manu Raju that he received the package of fake electors from Michigan and Wisconsin to hand to former Vice President Mike Pence. So he's confirmed his part in the conspiracy. Yes, I got the fake elector votes. And that his office inquired with Pence's office about taking it. So he also was down for the coup conspiracy part where he would deliver the fake electors. But he claimed he had no idea who gave him the package and wanted him to deliver it. So just a rando showed up at your office?
Come on,
I've been to the U.S. Senatorial office. In fact, I've been to Ron Johnson's office. He's got like 40 staffers in there. Do you think they'd accept a I mean, Ron, you're not a popular guy these days. If you get a package in the mail, you got a lower level underling that opens the package, confirms the sender, probably Googles them, finds out how many posts they put on Facebook trashing Ron Johnson. There is no freaking way a U.S. senator received an anonymous package of false electors, didn't do, I don't know who sent them to me, but I contacted the vice president's office with intent to deliver. I'll confirm that part. I just don't remember where these fake electors.
So, I mean, did you get it, Ron? And if so, did you open the package? Did you have like a knife, or did you use like your key to get through the tape on the package? I mean, and when you opened the package, did you notice that there was Michigan and Wisconsin? I mean, there's some details here. Really want to know, because you know, Crudy, nothing gets in that building without being tracked and traced and whatnot.
I guarantee it.
Guarantee it.
Here is the quote from the fine story at the Raw story. And Rojo, he was speed walking, man. Manu Raju, not a tall man. He was trying to keep up. It's like when we walk together, right, I got to turn around and look back and see if you're still there. Why are you going
so fast, Crudy? Come on, man.
Well, that's usually because you're wearing flip-flops. But anyways, however, remember we're talking about Rojo being interviewed briefly on video earlier today. However, Rojo claimed he had no idea who gave him the package and wanted him to deliver it. Here's the direct quote. I was aware that we got this package and that somebody wanted us to deliver it, so we reached out. You reached out to the vice president of the United States. The thing they wanted you to deliver was the means of a coup, sir. That's not exactly a proper legal defense, and you shouldn't be talking to reporters on the street at this point. You should be calling legal counsel. I'm just saying, Ron. Yeah, I'm just trying to give. Ron gave me advice about makeup, how to, go get a good makeup set.
Yes.
Go,
when someone helps you,
set.
mentor you on your makeup, you can give him some good advice. Crudy, if you were able to give Ron Johnson right now the best legal advice of his life, what would it be?
Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer. As a guy who's been defendant before and had bad lawyers and, good lawyers, and I've had the best lawyer, and Jeff Scott Olson, although he will not represent you, sir, he knows better. He's got standards. But I will tell you, get a damn good lawyer, Ron. You're going to need one. And I'd stop taking walking talks. I'd stop talking to anyone. And I wouldn't probably show up at the Cleta Mitchell event and make comments on Friday night either.
So is it our mutual understanding and thought and perception that Ron probably does know who sent him that
absolutely.
package?
And not only that, but he acknowledged receipt of the package, acknowledged that he reached out to the vice president's office, and by implication acknowledged a willingness to deliver the package. But somehow the lack of knowledge, which is completely implausible and unbelievable, that he didn't know where the package came from. That's the legal defense? Have you considered your answer here, Ron?
No. I mean,
really, I would not put my hand on a Bible, raise the other one, and, swear on that accounting.
844-967-2789. Crudy, give Rojo some legal advice.
I mean, how does this guy survive this? I know that Donald Trump survived lots and lots of stuff, but Rojo ain't exactly the ratings machine. He might be a rich guy, but he didn't, do an Apprentice TV show. He's not a WWE sort of villain character. I mean, maybe a White Walker on Game of Thrones, but
he's one of the lesser White Walkers.
But he's not, not a charismatic figure overall. He's not the cult leader. He's not going to escape this.
Or he embraces it with Cleta Mitchell in Wisconsin on Friday in Wauwatosa.
Hell yeah, I ordered the coup.
Yeah. You're damn right I did.
I just can't tell you who suggested the coup. We know who suggested the coup. It was Trump and Giuliani and all your buddies.
Wisco Paul, you're up, man. You got the last word today. We got to squeeze you in here before we keep talking. Welcome, man. What do you got for us today?
Well, I'll just make it quick. Rojo, I didn't realize he was this stupid to be involved in a coup. And I got
and confess to it on a walk and talk with Manu Raju.
Now we're beyond stupid, right? And 3 words for Trump: lock him up. I wish Betsy could come on and sing that. Lock him up. Huh. This is beyond belief anymore. I don't know where it's going, but all right. Thanks for the show. Great show. Have a great day, Devil.
Thanks, Wisco.
Thanks, man.
I suggested may end up in Oxford Federal Penitentiary. That's where Papadopoulos ended up.
I mean, that's where all the best Trump toadies go. Oxford, Wisconsin.
Don, want to thank our fine guests. They included Matt McNeil. He'll be playing out 3 o'clock as I can track the show and just do 2 hours live with Dom. That'll happen after the 4th of July. And also want to thank James Santelle, former U.S. attorney. Don't forget, he does a live show, Morning Cannoli, Saturday mornings, 9 to 11. But he's got a lot of wrap-up coverage this weekend. We're going to wrap it up right here with the final thought. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, you are a traitor, sir. I hope you go to jail.
When you control the mail, you control information.
The staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer. You're going to need it.
Local older adults are in need of support through caring community volunteers. Help someone get to their medical appointment